Good evening and welcome to Toxic Masculinity, episode 22. This one is, we're going to start out by talking about the European elections, but we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Real quick, while people are jumping into the chat and people are jumping on to watch us, do we have any personal news, Jason or Kurt? Anything interesting going on in your lives?
I love the new lighting, by the way, in your setup there. You have that it really looks good, Chris.
I have a skylight now. I may actually have to turn that down slightly. That's intense. That's getting intense. Earlier it was the lighting was correct, but it's getting a little bit later in the morning. Kurt, anything exciting going on in Hawaii while I turn down my ISO?
Well, Grandma's still alive, and I strained my neck.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have my orange bad mic in honor of Donald Trump. See right here.
Somebody. I think Mark Hamill wore some kind of like. You know, he was showing his orange jumpsuit from Star Wars, and he said something like, "I'm wearing orange in solidarity with the gun control movement," whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And so I wrote,
it's easy to be like up on your high horse when you have a lightsaber. Just like some of us don't have lightsabers, all right? So gun control, it's like
Luke.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Han Solo. Wait, Mark Hamill, you're talking about, Chris?
Yeah, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. So I said, I said, so you know, I've heard orange people make the best presidents. That's why I posted on this thing. I doubt he'll notice or respond, but that was my response. All right, we're getting a few people in here. Do you want to start with the first story? Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah.
I thought we were still doing personal stuff. Also, you were mentioning like microphones and sound quality and picture quality and all of the things that are purely alien to me, obviously.
What happened? You're supposed to have your good camera up.
Okay, you know what?
It's never going to happen. That's what happened.
I was going to praise both of you for not giving me a hard time leading into this show or in the previous show, but now you've ruined that. But
because we're too busy doing other stuff. Yeah, we would totally give you crap, of course.
Yes. You two are both very busy. Of course, I have nothing going on in my life besides this show. But
I mean, when we start the show up, Jason and I have work.
Never mind, Jason. Just go to the story. Obviously, Chris doesn't want me to talk. I was gonna do this whole thing, but it's fine. Just go to the first.
I'm just interjecting. I'm not stopping you from talking.
Distinction without a difference.
Is the timing really that bad? Where it's like I'm talking over you? Because in the timing that I have, it seems to be okay. I'm just interjecting a little bit, and is this really that terrible?
I saw something on X today about men shaving their armpits. Let me know, people in the audience. Is that manly or is that I don't know. I don't want to say the G word, but Chris, Kurt, Chris you think it's manly? I'm not going to ask Chris because I think he does shave his armpits, but
yes,
I don't know.
Chris is in Bali. He can get a kid on the street corner to do that for a nickel. He doesn't do it himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is he, a savage?
Well, I just wondering because I saw that on X, and I'm just wondering. So that's my.
There you go, boy. As a nickel.
Well, I think shaving body hair or hair in general or something like that is popular in the Asian community because typically Asians are crummy at that, like with wispy mustaches, and we get like like one nasty nipple hair that's kind of like 3 feet long and just like pluck that sucker. But I got my dad's genes, so I'm actually look hairier than my dad, even though he's a white man, because my hair is thick and dark because my mom is Japanese. So for me, all my body hair is lovely and beautiful, and I cherish it, and I would not trade it for the world.
JV brings a good point. He says bodybuilders shave all hair, so it might be manly actually.
Actually, swimmers and cyclists and lots of athletes shave everything. My ex.
smear on a bunch of fake tanner. So I mean,
that's
where do we draw
true.
the
Yeah,
line?
they look ridiculous. Yeah, my ex liked to shave various parts of my body. I won't get into details. But
Is that a new record? Chris mentioning a girl on this show, or what? 8 minutes in, new record, ladies and gentlemen. Chris is talking.
That's not
about
my
women.
fault. It's not my fault. It's the subject at hand. First of all, secondly, you really think it's a record? Come on, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Jason, it's your fault.
So I think
we were talking about Asian men's body hair, and then Chris had to mention his women because Asian men and women that Chris likes are the same thing, apparently.
Oh, we're talking about shaving body hair generally. You brought up the Asian thing, Kurt.
So back to the point of the poll.
I would hope you wouldn't think about other men than Asian men. You're just gonna make me jealous. Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say out of the audience reaction, I think if you're an athlete, it's okay. If not,
yeah, if you're an athlete, it's okay. If not, I guess it's a little weird.
All right, Chris.
But I think grooming one's body, combing one's hair, wearing nice clothes, trying to keep your apartment nice. These are all indicators. Don't give me that face, Kurt. These are all indicators that you have some ability to maintain, a clean appearance, I guess, right? So I do think actually women tend to like that. Different women like different things.
I agree with you because if you go back into like the 50s or 60s when men were men, or the 40s, like that was a thing. Like men went to like places to get their hair done, like just the way the women do it today. There was also the men did it too. I mean, men really took care of themselves, and I think that's an important thing.
It's kind of like there's various ways that you can maintain your appearance, either personally or your environment, your home, whatever it might be. And I tend to find that the guys who will say, oh, if you do this, you're gay, right? They tend to be the guys that just want an excuse for being lazy. Whatever that might be. Shaving body hair. Okay, shaving body hair might be a little bit too far for most people. But just generally speaking, I don't think it's a great idea to just like point to somebody doing some kind of like personal grooming and go, that's gay.
And it has to be in that voice.
Tales. Nice to see you.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I have to trim down my eyebrows because those things will get crazy. Those things are like, develop their own zip code. I look like a villain in a Chinese kung fu movie if I don't kind of trim them down a little bit. And well, obviously, like I'm 41, so that might have something to do with it. But like I've got like the little nose hair thing. Got to trim the nose hairs and things. This actually is not a mustache. This is all nose hair. It just sort of like cups its way around.
Sharon Lee jumped in the chat and she said they can start with stop wearing pajamas outside of your house with the Crocs. Yeah. Okay. So traveling around, the European fashions now have driven me crazy. Like not in a good way. Because a lot of European men, they're wearing like what they call like sliders, or what we used to call slip-ons, right? And they got these new designs for slip-on shoes. This is like the main Russian footwear. Like all Russians are wearing these. And then a lot of other European guys, they're now wearing the Birkenstocks, which I've always thought were the ugliest shoe on the planet.
Those are for American lesbians. They're not for European men.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here?
No, it's the trend now. Well, European women as well, but European men in particular, like women can kind of get away with it, but men, I don't know what the hell. And then, and the funny thing is, my friend Floor, her boyfriend wears them, and I'm like, yeah, he's all right guy, but what's with the Birkenstocks? And she's like, I think it's sexy. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And then there's the Crocs, which for some reason Airy Fairy Tales writes, Chris loves Crocs. I don't know if I've been more offended in my life from any comment in the chat ever. No, I do not love Crocs. They've got these like little pins that people put in them now. Like that's like a cool thing. They're just so disgusting and dirty and filthy, and I don't know. I can't say any of these
pins that people put in them. What does that mean?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like a refrigerator magnet, but they're pins that go in the holes of the Crocs.
Like if you want like a little little smiley face thing,
like pieces
on your
flair,
shoe,
like you were working at
pieces of flair. Exactly what it is.
Tuesday or something. Oh,
exactly.
Lord.
Pieces of flair. All right, we got a comment here. MMA Fix. Don't worry, guys. I'm mailing Kurt a really great camera along with those hats and whatever else I decide to lie about. But still, the three best dudes.
If I may, Chris sent me a camera some time ago for my failed YouTube channel called what was it called?
Wait, Kurt. Wait, hold on, Kurt. You just cut him off on. He was gonna just say the best thing.
Jason,
right after you cut him off.
I'm gonna fly to Florida and murder you. Chris was actually quiet for a second, and you cut me off. You're dead too.
It is true. Well, you cut me off is the problem. And then they finished the comment with they finished the comment with still the best. Kurt, shush. Still the best 3 dudes online. Okay, thank you so much, MMA Fix. We got another one from Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company. $5 says, well, hello, motherfuckers.
Hey, motherfucker.
Whenever I read that, I think of the Asian guy
Jason.
from Hangover.
We're demonetized now. Good job.
No, I said
I shave my head twice a day. I shave my head twice a day. Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Yeah, a lot of people do have to shave their heads. I had a buddy who was going. I had a
twice
buddy who was
a day.
going bald.
Are you professionally shot out of a cannon? Why twice a day? That seems a little overkill.
I have a buddy. He's an actor in Hollywood, and he was going bald. And I hadn't seen him in a while. And we went to go hang out for like a show he was doing. And I noticed he had all this like black powder near the edge of his hair. And I was like, what's with that? And apparently in Hollywood, if you're kind of going bald, but you're not really bald yet, you can spray this stuff on. It's like this fibrous black crap, and it'll like fill in your hair. And it kind of looks like
it's called Flex Seal. If you have if your boat has a hole in it, you can use that for that too. Great.
Anyway, but it looks ridiculous, and it was getting everywhere. And it was at a point where it wasn't really working 100%. Like he still looked bald. So I was like, dude, you just got to shave your head. You're going to look better with a shaved head. And he finally shaved his head. And now he feels better and cleaner and better looking.
Chris, I'm far too lazy to shave my head not only once a day, but twice a day. No, This is why I have the scruff, because I'll just take a trimmer, a big trimmer, small trimmer, something. I'll just take it to everything. Trim this, leave a little bit, trim this, leave a little bit, because I have this weird balding pattern. Thanks, Grandpa Oda. And it's like I think it looks okay. I think this look for me is all right, but I mean, like, you guys obviously have fine coifs of hair,
thick, luscious heads of hair,
some product to sort of like shape it, and this like okay, Jason,
grow the beard, man. Grow the beard. It looks so cool with your bald head.
No.
Yeah.
What I look like one of these Duck Dynasty MFers? Come on. One of these gym rats that just like got all beard like down to
No, man. Exactly. Grow that beard.
Cover this beautiful neck and Adam's apple. What are you, crazy? This is the money maker right here. Except right now.
If you say so.
It looked like the villain from the first Iron Man movie.
In the chat, everybody. In the chat, should I go to a third world country like Chris and get some hair plugs so I can have these guys' hairline, or should I just keep doing?
By the way, I met a couple of guys who had done like hair replacement things.
Yeah.
And my gosh, it was so good. Like I could not tell that they had it.
In this influencer culture, guys that do things like Mike Thurston, I think is his name. These guys that are like obviously on gear, that have these channels. It's all about like lifting weights and like being aesthetic. Like he documented his whole journey. He's in Dubai, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm getting like all this stuff done, and like like I wanted to get it done because this matters to me, and I'm gonna do it." And like that whole thing is like archived now on YouTube because the guy's a popular fitness YouTuber. But I mean, like for me, it's like, well, first of all, I don't have like stupid money where I could just be like, like give me blue eyes, do all this kind of weird stuff to me.
Right.
Give me like a chin like what's his face?
Kirk Douglas.
Oh, Jason, you and me were just like this, man. If you ever leave your wife, we'll be an excellent gay couple.
Oh my
Half Power Concrete
sure.
Simplified Crawfish Company jumps in and he says, Kurt continues to describe me in a condescending manner. Kurt seems confused by that.
I often offend people, and I'm often confused as to how. So,
well, he said that he's shaved his head twice a day, and you say, "What do you get shot out of a cannon?" I'm not really sure what's confusing about this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
is twice a day really necessary? I mean, come on. 5 o'clock shadow was a thing, but I mean,
enough about personal grooming. Let's move on.
It's never enough. This is toxic masculinity. This should be the whole 2 hours. Anyway, go.
We can hold on a second. I have a window here that I wanted. This is a tweet.
You can circle back to
well, we're going to be talking about toxic masculinity still, but this is such a genius point. I don't know if you guys can see that on your screens there.
Let's hope
you guys got that?
Yeah. My screen is tiny.
Anyway,
I see it, but I know how to use it.
I haven't actually seen the tweet. This is a tweet that somebody like screen captured, but I thought it was brilliant. Noelle Thea, she writes, if masculinity were truly toxic, then kids growing up without fathers would presumably be better off than those who have them, but they're not. And I have never heard anybody make this point before. We make the point that fathers are critical, but I've not heard anybody tie it to the toxic masculinity thing. And I just thought it was appropriate to the title of our show, so I thought I'd throw it up there. Yeah, what a brilliant observation.
Yep.
Like
it's a great insight, absolutely.
And you know, the weird thing is, if kids grow up without mothers, they seem to do okay. But if kids grow up without fathers, they turn out completely messed up almost every single time. So I'm not really sure why that is. Obviously, mothers, I think, are critical to, I think, maybe growing up with a happy life, but maybe they're not as critical growing up to become a good person, which seems counterintuitive, since obviously mothers instill a lot of values into kids. So I don't really know why that is. It's something that I think researchers should look into, but it just seems to be, it is what it is kind of situation, you know?
I'm not sure if we addressed this on the show before. It was just me making a comment on like a YouTube video or a comment section. I do a lot of commenting on YouTube videos, so that might be the case. But yeah, the basic idea is that like the mothers provide nurturing and a sense of comfort and security. Right. And the fathers are sort of like the ones that give you the hard love. They're like, okay, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And, you know, it goes
discipline
back to
and the example of how to live one's life. Wait till your
father gets home, because the mother is just sort of like, oh, you know, like the threat, the father sort of provides the dark reality of the world. Like the world is this kind of a place and you need to be prepared for it. And they instill both fear and respect. And
Jason's really going to provide the dark reality of the world to his kid.
Yep, I am. Better me than somebody else, right?
Should we move on to the first actual story here?
Yes, sure. It's kind of the same. This is sort of the same idea as the Ben Carson thing that I wanted to put in it, but Ben Carson is the cure for insomnia, so obviously we're not going to play that video.
We decided not to play it because Ben Carson is too boring. I love Ben Carson, but he's too boring.
That's why he is better doing what he does. I mean, like not everyone can be Trump. To be a politician, to be the face of a movement, you have to have charisma. You have to have presence. True. And Ben Carson is a brilliant man, and he says a lot of brilliant things about like family and.
How early did you start drinking today?
Just very recently, actually.
Just
before the show started.
Hey, just to go back on that point,
You're very chatty today, Kurt.
I disagree. Yeah, he is. I disagree with her, and I don't disagree with her. She's right, but also like the most important thing is to have two parents in the home, a mother and a father. That's what will make a successful child.
I love that. I think that's the obviously the ideal. That's the most important.
Yeah, because you really can't take one away from the other. I mean, they're both needed in the home.
I don't think there are too many instances. I mean, I'm sure it's not obviously it's not that uncommon, but it's fairly uncommon to just be raised by your father and not a mother. I know that does happen, but nowhere near obviously to the extent the other way around.
Can we stay on the topic of like the nuclear family and that sort of thing? for a moment?
Well, I did pop up the other story already, so no. Jason, read the next story.
Macron trounced by Le Pen's populist at Europarl elections. Immediately dissolves parliament for snap national election. Yeah, this is huge news, man. What's going on in Europe? Like the middle to the left actually did good.
Right. And this is really crazy. So Macron is going to have to step down in France because the quote unquote far right is winning. A lot of people are sharing this.
But before you go on, Chris, I'm sorry. But before you go on, like, don't you know, like, I hate it. It's like all the news, all the media now, it's that word, like, far right.
Well, I was just about to talk about that, but somebody cut me off.
It just angers me, Chris. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's just like a lot of people on Twitter are sharing this sentiment. I think even Elon Musk shared this, and I completely agree with it, which is like what is perceived to be the far right today was not even conservative 20, 30 years ago. It was like the center, even maybe, moderate left, even a lot of the far right positions are today. So this
Kennedy Democrats.
Even after that, even like in the 90s, what you would consider to be like a moderate Democrat is like a more sort of like, centrist conservative today. But they call all of that, they call it all far right. Basically, if you're not for like the Green New Deal and transgender surgeries for 3-year-olds, then you are far right. Everything's far right. You're a MAGA extremist, this kind of thing. And it's bizarre. And like there's some graph I saw where it's like in the very far corner, it's like this is the left, and then what we now call center, or what leftists call center, is like this little sliver right next to that, and then far left all the way to the far right. That's all considered far right. They don't. There's not even conservative anymore. There's not even right wing anymore. They don't even say any of those terms. They just say far right for anything they disagree with.
Yeah, it's definitely moving at the goalpost, and the idea that like it's a branding issue. And for decades now, it's like branding. America is a corporation, and it's all about branding. So they basically want to say, like, you don't want brand X. Brand X is dangerous. So anything that is a threat to the left, they label as far right, because then it's neo-Nazis, then it's racist, hateful people, that kind of stuff. So it's about applying stigma to the things that you don't want people to think about.
Oh, 100%. And speaking to that specifically, they really do brainwash people into believing that we are some kind of like racist, misogynist, hateful, evil people. Libs of TikTok posted this video. These are liberals in France not coping well with their party's defeat this week. Let's have a watch of this. This is pretty funny. I actually feel quite bad for this girl because and then this is her roommate, right? I feel bad for these girls because honestly, like, I think that they're probably well-meaning girls. They probably, they're sitting there crying.
Oh,
they genuinely want.
It's pathetic.
It's pathetic. Well, look, they genuinely want the world to be a better place.
This is the problem, man. This is the problem.
Jason, come on. Jason, come on. Let me finish what I'm saying. They want the world to be a better place, and they're gullible. They are. This is. I've been talking about this for a while. I got a video coming out about this called "Should Women Be Allowed to Vote?" This video is coming out in a few days. Should women be allowed to vote? And I won't tell you what my conclusion is, but I will tell you this. The whole argument I make is that at some point, leftists figured out that if you tell a woman a story, like an emotional story, and you tell a man the same emotional story, the man will say, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, is that like emblematic of like a lot of people? Like, does that story illustrate a broad swath of the population, or is that just one person's story?" The girl will say, "Oh, that's terrible. Where do you want me to donate? How do you want me to vote?" They'll instantly buy into it. Women sort of buy into emotional stories unquestioningly. Yeah, they tug at their heartstrings. They have this natural gullibility, and obviously the women watching this show probably are exceptions to this. But I'm just
maybe that natural gullibility has a biological need, because otherwise we couldn't propagate the species. If they actually
exactly. I mean, there might be a good reason for it.
D-bags that we were, they'd never sleep with us.
Man,
no, look,
man, Chris, you really have something for liberal women, man.
Something against them, you mean?
I said you really have something for liberal women. I don't know what it is, man. Like,
I'm literally criticizing them. What the hell are you talking about, Jason?
These women,
that's my question,
these women are gonna cause problems for my future kids, you know. So I don't feel bad.
I don't think you're appropriately grasping the concept that I'm laying out here. I literally just said I'm making a video called "Should Women Be Allowed to Vote?" Like, what are you talking about? I have a thing for liberal women. What are you talking about? Okay, whatever.
Well, it's about the common good, and the idea that men are sort of like want to keep women down and oppress them and mistreat them and sort of like hold on to power. I mean, it couldn't be further from the truth. We are basically trying to preserve society, and it's the society that we create that keeps women and children safe.
Exactly.
So the idea that we would be like, okay, women, you're slaves now. You don't get this or that. We all have mothers. Some of us have sisters. Some of us has wives. And it's like the idea that like men just like hate women is just so crazy to me that it almost gives me a sense of comfort, because if you believe that, then you yourself are crazy. And once you get the right side away from crazy, you'll realize that saying this sex is, you know, wrong about everything, this group, it's basically like sexism and racism, all this sort of like stigmas need to die out, and they will die out as long as people judge things by their own perception.
That's something I always talk about. Is the women voting issue.
All right, let me present to you guys an example of what I'm talking about with the irrationality and tricking women into believing things that are idiotic because of this emotional perception. The whole Israel-Palestine situation, right? Every time you see these like gays for Palestine, you know, in these protests, it's almost all women. Right, you got tons. You got some gay guys as well, but for the most part, it's women saying, you know, LGBTQ pride for, you know, supporting Palestine and all this kind of stuff. Now, we've obviously on the show and many different outlets have talked about how this is the dumbest thing anybody could possibly do. Oh, these people want to kill me? I support them. It's like, what are you talking about? What, these people would kill you if they controlled this country, and you're supporting them because you've been convinced. And I mentioned this, and this is kind of a joke, but I think it's kind of true as well. Why do leftists love brown people more than white people? Well, they're all vegan health nuts, right? And they realize, oh, you know what's better than white bread? Brown bread. You know what's better than white rice? Brown rice. Now, you can have some artificial plastic thing, or you can have a wood thing. And what color is wood? Brown. Brown is better. And you know what's also better? Brown people. And the funny thing is, right, I came up with this kind of like as a joke, but I realized I think it's kind of true, because they look at brown people, quote unquote, as more, you know, primitive, culturally primitive. They think that that's closer to nature, just like brown rice and brown bread.
Jason will do you one better. Even brown beans aren't good enough for him. He's got to go to the black beans because he's so.
Whoa. Black beans and brown rice. Well, anyway, but yeah, so they do this.
Come on,
they do
Jason,
this thing.
I was trying to get a rise out of you. What are you doing there?
Is that a joke about his wife?
No. It's about actual beans. How dare you? I would never insult.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was a subtle metaphor in there. But the point I'm trying to make is that is the most irrational idea that you could have. And also, it's the same thing like bringing people in from radical Muslim countries as immigrants. They typically don't give women rights in America, but you got feminists supporting this idea.
It's very rational. Women want real men. So they're willing to bring these men from other third world countries that that are actually men that will actually put a woman in
saying
their
like
place.
Muslims from like Arab countries are real men. That's fine.
Yeah, like the men here, they're not really like they're becoming freaking women, So
they are
women
certainly
want
more
real men.
masculine, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It's an embedded in their subconscious. They don't know it.
Earlier, Jason.
I don't know how
Jason
many
derives
nightclubs you've been to with.
Jason's
I don't know how many
much
nightclubs.
of a beard you have.
All right. I don't know how much. Yeah, I don't know how many nightclubs you've been in with Arab guys, but I'm not sure if just being super rude constitutes being a real man. I have a theory about Muslim guys in nightclubs, which is that they're obviously not good Muslims. Like if you come from a religious area and you've rejected your faith to such a degree that you're going to nightclubs, drinking alcohol, and trying to take home loose women, probably not the best person. Anyway, that's a theory that I have after having traveled around Europe and stuff. And I don't know why Arab guys always want to talk to me in nightclubs, but they always do. And they're always some kind of like weirdo criminal. G.I. Jose jumped in. He says, "Hey, Chris, leave my fellow men of color alone." Well, I look like a man of color, even if I am entirely Northern European. All right. We have. Do you guys want to jump in and talk about this a little bit, or should we move on to the next?
What the hell were we talking about?
Story.
I'm looking at this.
By the way, I sent you an image of what Elon Musk was talking about.
Oh, did you? Okay, let me look at that.
It's about
Toxic
his
masculinity.
Yeah, it's about his Well, he sent the image. It perfect. It sums it up perfect.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I think I can jump. I think I can post that. Let's have a look. Share screen window. Yes, good, cool. All right, so this is this is one of them. There's plenty of graphics that have been presented. This is one of them. This is particularly good, I would say. I think there's better graphics than this, but this is pretty funny as well.
It's like go ahead.
Yeah, go. No, you talk.
No, go ahead. Well,
I actually don't think. I think that a lot of people, what they perceived as being right wing for a long time was a lie anyway.
Yes.
So this graph. So I think the center has always been a little bit further right, and then some people are just have a misperception of where the center was or what the right is, But it's still an interesting graph from Musk's perspective. Yeah, for sure. Anyway.
Okay.
What were we going to say, Jace?
No. Yeah, that's good. I
forgot we moved on from the Libs of TikTok thing. So.
Oh, now you guys can see our texts.
I'm looking at the video now, and a peek behind the curtain for you live viewers.
Yeah, the curtain.
But I mean, she's in the kitchen. Libs of TikTok girl in France. Like, I like French women. She's in the kitchen. She
looks cute. Yeah.
Yeah, she's thin. She's crouched down. I mean, like, my question is she single?
Right. I think the thought in all of our minds is I can fix her. I think that's the general.
Wait a minute. Was she actually in the kitchen?
Yeah, I know. Was she barefoot?
she's up against. I can't tell if she's barefoot now because the text is in the way, but she's up against a mini fridge.
As a toxically masculine man, I have an uncontrollable urge to impregnate this woman. She's barefoot in the kitchen.
She looks. That makes sense for you because she looks quite thin and quite young. So.
Whoa, Kurt! Come on, let's not be spreading rumors here. What do you got? What do you got in your shirt?
My apologies.
What is this?
What this?
Yeah.
Oh, this
You're
is
right?
This is a Salonpas.
Have you been damaged?
Is a Japanese product that's sort of like a topical pain reliever. Because obviously, Chris, for having to deal with you, is a huge pain in the neck.
Of course, naturally. Very good.
The economy the way it is, sometimes you do things that you wouldn't normally do, might result in a strained neck. And
okay, all right.
Question.
Maybe some scuffed knees.
Question. So you think this election in Europe is going to change anything?
Okay, well, let me just talk a little bit about the election in Europe, because
Yes,
for a long time, we have believed, or it occurred to us, and I had done a video about this. I don't know if I actually produced the video, but I had written the video. So sometimes I don't always produce the videos that I write. They just kind of like some big news happens and they get pushed aside. But yeah, we've got Milei in, what is it, Argentina, or
Argentina.
is it Argentina?
Argentina.
And then we've got Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, who was like a conservative. And you had all these, and then in Italy, and you had all these conservatives. Even in the UK, you had the conservative, the Tories come into power, even though they weren't as conservative as I think people had wanted. And so now with this election and all these different countries going to the right, it sort of confirms our speculation that maybe people all over the world are starting to wake up and realize that this leftist crap just isn't working. And with a lot of this, it seems like what people are reacting to,
globalism isn't working,
is immigration primarily, because we're being flooded. I mean, we talk about it here in America, but this is happening in Europe as well. We're being flooded with immigrants that don't share our culture. And a lot of them hate us. A lot of them hate white people. A lot of them hate Europeans. A lot of them hate Americans. They hate our culture. They hate who we are. You know, you hear these stories of the most vicious crimes occurring from immigrants. And like, I have a friend in the Netherlands who goes, you know, Chris, I have a neighbor and they're Muslim and they're like the nicest family. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course. That's not the people that they're worried about, though. Right? It's like, you can, if you have 1,000 people come in and, you know, 994 of them are amazing, but 6 of them are serial killers, it's probably better to just keep them all in their home country. Because if you don't know which ones are the serial killers, you can't just bring in the good ones. And that's the major problem. The serial killers aren't going to announce themselves, you know.
And there's a weird disconnect that happens there too, because like I stay with my grandmother in her house because she needs some at-home care, and my mother is here some of the time. And if somebody comes to the door, she'll just be like, I'm not going to the door. I don't know who that is. Like, she has a rational fear of like the unknown and things like that. But at the same time, it's just sort of like open borders, those kind of policies, like it's more sympathetic because it's sort of like that's the bigger picture. It's like they can compartmentalize,
and it doesn't affect you personally. It's the same thing. It's that old question you ask. Okay, if you want to open the border to illegal immigrants, would you then open your door to homeless people sleeping on your couch?
Clearly not.
You know, and nobody would do that. But they don't mind because they're not personally affected necessarily. What neighborhoods the illegal immigrants are going into, they don't live there, so
you know, really the whole immigration thing screwed up their whole utopia. By allowing that to happen, they just screwed up themselves. Yeah, because I think that's the number one issue that's caused all these people to like realize, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We're like going against our own self-interest, you know. But if they didn't allow that, I think Europe would have been more left than ever before. But I think that just
I think you're right. Everybody. Yeah. Off Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says, stay away from the one, talking about illegal immigrants. He says, stay away from the ones that are ticking. Because they might be a suicide bomber. I like that's pretty funny. So I had this conversation because I basically live and hang out with and engage with Europeans exclusively. I mean, these are the Germans, Dutch, and then like one of my good friends here is Belgian. Okay, so I have a friend here that's Belgian, and that was one of the big elections. One of the big election surprises was the Belgian election the other day, and the conservative, the far right party apparently won, and I think actually in Belgium it might not have been the far right, quote unquote, but
it's never right. It's always far right.
They're still they're always far right. It's conservative party one, and so the left had to go away. And if you've seen, I think this guy had to resign, right? Because they lost, so he had to resign. And if you watch, there's a video on TikTok of this guy crying, literally like crying on stage because he's got to like leave office. It's like, oh, the fascists won, right? They call us all fascists, of course. But what's great about, like, what's crazy about that is just the night before the election, we had a conversation about Belgium and Belgian politics specifically. And Belgium is a very interesting country in Europe because similar to, I guess, Switzerland, you've got like a German half of Belgium. Well, that's not German, though. Switzerland is German. You've got a Dutch side of Belgium, and then you've got a French side of Belgium, right? So you've got two very distinct cultures. And he says these cultures are always fighting. And they're always fighting about the same thing, which is that the Dutch side is actually very industrious and hardworking, and they've got these good values, you know, in terms of work ethic and, like, you know, being industrious. And then the French side is all about smoking cigarettes, drinking wine, and having like a really long lunch break. And he's like, you know, this is not about work. This is about living your life, you know. And he goes, and it just drives the Dutch side nuts because so many French people, they kind of reconcile their carefree lifestyle, and they say, you know, basically, or they reconcile not even just the carefree lifestyle, they reconcile living off of the state often and using state funds to pay for their carefree lifestyle with this idea that this is just our culture. This is what we do. And the Dutch are just like, no, F you, go work, get a job, make some money, contribute to society like we do. So he says the problem with Belgium is that you got one side who essentially pays for the existence of the other side. That's his, I mean, he's from the Dutch side. So that's
those are the people we should be letting in here. The Dutch.
Yeah, the Dutch are amazing. The Dutch are
notoriously
amazing.
I think for wanting to pay for their part of the meal and let everybody else pay for their own part of the meal, which is sort of like going Dutch. Like, yeah. Everybody carries their own weight. Damn it! And just like, yeah, I can see that.
Well, whose family historically, if you go back through the ancestry, is Dutch. Oh, that's right.
Rucker
Donald Trump.
Oh,
yeah, true. Yeah.
Well. I don't think you gotta go back that far for Rucker Hauer. I think it's like he is Dutch, like he's from the Netherlands. No, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I believe, is Dutch. I think the name Trump comes from a Dutch name. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of it has to do with the immigration, and a lot of it has to do with, like, I think a shift toward Marxism. But a lot of it has to do with other things as well that you might not guess, and that's going to be our next story that we're looking into. Jason, what is it? Oh, you weren't expecting that. He wasn't ready for it.
I was. Actually, I'm ready. Poll. Strong majority of voters.
No. Oh, it's poll. Okay, yeah.
Poll. Sorry. Strong. You see, now you're making me read it bad. Poll. Strong majority of voters, most Hispanics, would back national program to deport illegal aliens.
I can't find.
There's a strong majority of voters of Hispanics that would back national programs to deport illegal aliens. So
okay, yeah. they got this labeled wrong on the website, but okay, so yeah, poll, yeah, okay. So this is again, we kind of went over all of this about the illegal immigrants and stuff like that. But what's fascinating to me about this story is that we're talking about Europeans who I don't know if it was Kurt or Jason.
Oh, really?
Pointed out that if it hadn't been for all this illegal immigration, Europe may be more left-wing than it ever was before. Like, they're taking people who, for whatever reason, have been conditioned to be more left-wing over the past few decades, and they're waking people up. People that you wouldn't expect to be woke up. I often talk about my gay Mexican actor friend in Hollywood and how he votes for Trump now because they've gone... Yeah, funny. Because they've gone so crazy left that even somebody like he sees it, you know.
This is the beauty. This is the beauty of the leftist and Democrat Party. They overplay their hand. They are so desperate for power that they will sabotage themselves, which is great.
Well, that's exactly right. And Europeans are sort of like, at least from the Americans' perspective, are notoriously, at least a bit. Kurt, can we just like put the alcohol down for 10 minutes? That would be amazing.
This is just Coke Zero. I have ice Coke Zero, whatever it's called, Powerade Zero.
Very loud ice. Warm. There's a mute button on your phone. Anyway,
he's even forgetting what he's thinking.
But now we've got in America, we've got the Black and Hispanic voters in this poll are saying, you know what? Yeah, actually just deport the illegals. And what's actually funny about that is I could tell you from personal experience with like Hispanic people that I know, those who are here legally, since I can remember, I don't think I've ever spoken to a legal immigrant, legal without the I, who has said, "Oh yeah, no, you should let illegal immigrants stay here." I know there are probably quite a few that do say that, but I've never met one. My whole life, anytime I meet somebody who's legally here, immigrated, they're like, "Oh, I effing hate the illegal immigrants." They hate them more than like regular Americans.
You will never.
So this is not a surprise to me.
You will never meet one that came in here legally supporting illegal aliens. Never. We need to have my wife and sister-in-law on this show because they can explain it so perfect what they've gone through and what they went through just to get into this country.
And your father as well. Your father was a legal immigrant.
Yes.
And he was also against illegal immigration.
Yep. And the anger that they have, for that, it's
they really are. Yeah, they really hate like way more than.
It's sort of the same issue with debt forgiveness on like
yes,
debt.
People see the unfairness.
The unfairness of it. It's just like, okay, we knew the rules and we worked hard and we struggled and we overcome. And you guys are just going to free pass these other guys? I almost said the F word to describe those guys, but it's like, yeah, we don't like this because they are basically like, it's like the first child syndrome. You're the older brother and the kid and the baby gets everything. It's just like, wait, whoa, hold on. I worked. And you're saying like, oh no, we don't care about work anymore. And that's the downfall of socialism because the mobile people, the strong people, the people that are industrious are going to say like, no.
They're always going to resent the fact that they're supporting everybody else. G.I. Jose jumped in.
Ultimately going to take action as well because if you foster this subclass of whiny...
Kurt is not going to let me put a super chat in here. He's just going to keep going. That alcohol is flowing today. All right. G.I. Jose jumps in and he says, count me in. Are you with me, Jason? Let's roll. Don't actually understand the super chat, but it was worth making fun of Kurt a little bit for.
Do another super chat so we can elaborate.
Please do. Yeah. But yeah. So I think people are waking up. I mean, because I don't know if Black people had a particularly strong opinion one way or the other. I haven't talked to a lot of Black Americans about immigration my whole life. I don't think I've ever really talked about immigration, but it's going to most affect a Black neighborhood, isn't it? Because if you have people coming in from, Guatemala or whatever it might be, and they set up a little community, it may well be in like an urban area that is like low income, right? Most low income urban areas are Black neighborhoods. If you got a poor white community, that's probably out in the sticks, right? So, so that's and some there's going to be some Hispanic people moving into the sticks as well. You get that as well. But yeah, a lot of Black people are going to be affected by this, and so this poll is not shocking to me. This poll is not shocking to me. But you guys make such a good point.
The thing is, it's taken Blacks longer to catch up with the people that came here legally, because they've been programmed to think about oppression and so they look at it like that. Yeah. But now that it's really affecting
they live on the
them.
Democrat plantation.
Yeah. So now that it's actually affecting them, and you can see it's affecting them in ways that they never realized until now. So now I think.
Well, I think we warned them, but I don't think that sometimes people need to experience something in order to really understand it.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what's happening to them right now. They're seeing it in their communities. They're seeing basically everything that's going to these illegals should go to people that need the help. Our fellow countrymen
who are American citizens.
Yeah. So and I think they're realizing it. I think they're realizing that the Democrats have sold them out for the illegals now. So
yeah, because they're just basically like importing new voters. They've so messed up their perception with the population of this country.
Actually, Kurt,
I don't know any better.
Yeah, I should say Black men. Black women are kind of still iffy about the whole thing. That just baffles me. I don't understand it. But Black men are really waking up.
100% right.
Because all my black friends, my male black friends, they're Trump supporters, conservatives.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like you guys said. I mean, this is the same kind of thing. Would black people or the Hispanic, I don't know, Hispanic population in America in general, would they be against illegal immigration in the way that they are now if it hadn't been for Biden's policies and just opening up the border? I don't know. In Europe, would people be so quote unquote far right now? Would they be voting for the conservative parties in Europe right now if it weren't for immigration? So, it's like Jason says, sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better. It's like Kurt said when Biden first won in 2021, when the election for whatever reason went to by hook or by crook went to Joe Biden, and he said, "Look, this is probably a good thing because people are really going to realize now how destructive the left has become," and that speculation was 100% accurate. Kurt, why don't we go to the next story because it's also related.
Things in theory versus things in practice, and we see things fail in real time. I mean, unfortunately, we don't always look to history to show us the way, and sometimes you need to suffer a little bit to realize that you made a mistake.
All right, Dame Frodo Lives has jumped into the chat. She writes, "Let's roll." And then she writes, "Has there ever been a bigger backfire?" I know, right? All right, Jace, let's go to the next one, which is I also think related. I also think it's related.
I wonder, like, if there's been ever a situation,
a bigger
like
backfire.
This. That would be interesting to look that up and research that. Okay, so next story.
Another poll.
Polls show growing opposition to transgenderism.
Yeah, and this is another thing that to me is like
a backfire.
I've seen. Yeah, but it's and you can see the polls here, 2017 to 2024
in the United States. Here, really, nobody really cared what you did in the privacy of your home. Nobody cared if you were gay, transgender, or like as long as you didn't shove it in people's faces or try to get it into our kids. I mean, just shoving it like that in your face, just make it. I think it started like it going against them when they started trying to groom our kids, man. That's when it really happened.
Well, somebody on Twitter pointed that out the other day. They had a whole list of things. So like, we didn't care about this until you started including the kids. We didn't care about that until you started including the, and it's kind of true. Although I do think that that's not the entire truth, because the truth is I think that most people think being gay is kind of gross. And that's just always been true, right?
Kurt like that one. Kurt like that
have to be the title for this episode. Just like Mr. Reagan
being
says,
gay is kind of gross.
Being gay is kind of gross.
Well, I do think that's always been perceived that way. Like even before like the major gay movement in the 90s and like the 80s, people always kind of thought being gay was a little icky. It's like aberrant sexual behavior. People just
unnatural. I would say, look. I would say unnatural. That's where I would go.
Yeah. Here's what I think. Here's what I think. How people think of being gay. At least this is how I think about being gay. I analogize it. I've analogized it for years, but I analogize it to different kinds of foods. Right. So, like for me, I liken my male relationships, which I think are important and valuable in life. My friendship with you guys, my brother, my father, whatever it might be, to like a nice steak dinner. Right. I liken my romantic relationships. Is anyone paying attention? I feel like Jason's doing something. Kurt's looking.
I'm
for
paying
more
attention.
alcohol.
I'm on the chat, Chris. I'm on the chat.
It's
I don't have
everybody's
to look.
doing their
It's
own thing at this point.
It's always at a.
They're like, oh, a Chris analogy. Let's go do something. No, it's like your male relationships are like a hearty dinner with like a steak. And your female relationships, your romantic relationships, in my view, are more like dessert, right? Like a nice, beautiful, delicious vanilla ice cream. And like, if I'm going to have a nice, delicious ice cream, vanilla ice cream, to me, I don't even like the Ben & Jerry's where they put all that crap in it. Like, I want like the pure Haagen-Dazs nice vanilla ice cream with nothing in it, no contamination. And, if you want like a beautifully seared ribeye a Wagyu steak, you just want a little salt on it. You don't want anything else. And you certainly don't want to take the ice cream, put it on the friggin' steak, and then eat them both together, right? Because that's just weird. You don't want your romantic relationships and your, what I would call fraternal relationships. You don't want those mixing up. And if you saw somebody eating steak with ice cream on it, you'd be like, that's kind of weird and disgusting. I don't really want it. I don't even want to watch that. You know what I mean? I don't even want to look at that. And to me, that's like watching two guys hold hands walk down the street. You know what I mean? Like to me, in my brain, I have a compartment for.
That's
actually
a great.
Where... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
I was saying this is why I'm your friend, Chris, because you're.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is so good.
Yeah, it's just there's some things that just gross you out, and I think it has to do with the concept of contamination, right? Like like in the caveman days, you wanted your water to be clean. You didn't want it to be contaminated with other stuff. You know what I mean? Because you didn't maybe know why in the ancient times, but today we would say, well, probably there's maybe bacteria in it or something like that would make you sick. And so I think we analogize this to other things in our lives. Our romantic relationships, we want to be purely with women, and our fraternal relationships, we want, I think for the most part to be with the same sex, same gender. And so when you mix those two things together, I think people think it's gross. I think people look at it and they go, that's gross. That's weird. And I think that's a natural instinct. And I think that what the left says is that natural instinct of thinking that's gross will inevitably turn into violence, because if you see two guys holding hands, the straight man urges to murder them, and it's like, well, okay, probably not actually. We probably just go ugh and then move on.
Which actually happened to you literally. You were with some girl and you saw came across a couple of guys kissing. You were like, ugh, but it jumped out at you, and she was.
Did that happen to me? I don't even remember.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Chris always chastises me and shames me for being a drunk, but I remember his stories and his life better than he does.
Yes, it's true. Both of these things are true.
So in this story, yes, Jason.
Kerr, I don't. I want you to drink like that in every episode.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Jason, shut up. Anyway, what's your story, Kurt? I don't remember.
But yeah, you were on a date or just like, in the company of a young lady, probably a very young lady. And you came across a couple of guys rounded the corner, and it's two dudes making out. And it's just like, and you kind of went like, ugh. And she was like, oh, you're a bigot. Just like, no, I'm not a bigot. I just wasn't ready for something gross.
Oh, I love that story. I wish I remembered it. Yeah. That's amazing. That's so funny. Well, anyway, it looks like since 2017 to 2024.
Isn't it awesome, Chris, when somebody reminds you of something in the past and you're like, man, I didn't remember, and then it comes to your head and you're like, oh man, like sometimes I'm like, I wish I could remember everything, because
even
maybe not, but
the big one with Kurt is that he will quote my own scripts to me, because I was always writing stories and scripts for Hollywood that nobody ever read, but Kurt would read them, and occasionally like we would be hanging out and he'd say like a line from one of my scripts, but I didn't recognize it from one of my scripts because I would forget what I had written. So I would go, oh, that's an awesome line. What movie is that from? And he goes, that's from your script, you idiot. And I mean, I was like, I'm amazing. That was amazing. Yeah. But anyway, so from 2017 to 2024, it looks like we have this steady change in people believing that, your gender is fixed at birth. And to me, that's so fascinating, because you would think it would be the opposite way, given the propaganda that the left spits out all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think it's something that people have to actually think about a little bit. And this is one of those things where people have gone, okay, I guess maybe you don't have to be born a man to be a man. I don't know. They didn't think about it that much in 2017. But by 2024, it's in our face every effing day. Mm-hmm. You see men competing with women in sports and this kind of thing. Yeah. And you go, you know what? This is BS,
I can't wait for in 20 years, all the backlash that's going to happen, the lawsuits, the suing the parents, suing the doctors. I can't wait. I can't wait. 20 years, it's going to be all hell for these people.
But you know, I hope so. But I think this is part of the reason for this vote that we saw in Europe. You know, we keep thinking it's all about immigration, or we all think it's about this or that issue.
It's a culture.
But at the end, but at the end of the day, I think that we're waking up on so many different levels right now. I think it's partly due to the internet. I remember, like, I feel like the left, the reason they want to censor us so much is because we can fact check them in real time. And somebody like Mr. Reagan, me, Chris, or Jason, or Kurt, we now have the potential to have a platform that reaches thousands of people. Right now, it looks like there's only 135 people watching us. So, okay, maybe not. I don't know why there's so few people watching us today. That's kind of a weird one. But
hey, look, it's 100 people, but those 100 people will talk to 200 people. Those 200 people will talk to 400 people. So
hopefully we have some impact. Yeah, exactly. Butterfly effect. So but the idea is, if you have 100 Chris's, 100 Jasons, 100 Kurt's out there, and we're all kind of presenting our perspective on these things, and it forces other people to think, because maybe we have some provocative ideas, and we're presenting them in an interesting way, then people start to think about these things. And so the internet has really, although, you know, in some ways it's made the world a lot worse, in many ways it does have huge benefits, like just the spread of ideas. And that's why I think governments want to control the internet so badly. But hopefully, you know, at least in America, I don't know about Europe, but at least in America, the biggest problem I think we have right now is the corruption in our federal government. And so it is so critically important that we get true conservatives in, true patriots, people like Trump from the outside who are not bought and paid for by, you know, the establishment, the deep state, whatever you might call it. I don't know what they're doing in Europe. I'm hoping that the conservatives that are electing in Europe right now are not corrupt, or are going to help, you know, those countries in the same way. But that's really, in my view, that's the biggest thing right now is getting not corrupt people, you know, honest people in government.
You know, I think I've said this before on the show, but I think what's really happening with all these polls and all that stuff, it's just showing that there are two sides now. And I think it's I'm gonna kind of get religious, but I think it's like God's calling. Like, so there's two sides now, evil and good. Like, and I think that's what's coming out now. It's a clear side. You're either on the side of good,
it's not
or
left and right anymore. It's good and evil.
You're on the side of death, weird stuff, you know, or you're on the side of good, like justice and freedom and liberty, you know. So I think that's just what's happening now. It's choose your side.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
The immigration issue also. The immigration issue of just sort of like bringing everybody over the border and just sort of giving them amnesty and all this kind of stuff. It's like, it really does spit in the face of the people that went through the process. And it's like, damn it, I was going to make a comparison.
So anyway, MMA Fix jumped in with a super chat, and he says, if Kurt's story about Chris is true, Bill Burr owes you $1 or owes you money. MMA Fix is suggesting that you got that story from Bill Burr and not me. It is possible that I experienced this. I mean, I did live in Los Angeles and New York and Toronto and Portland, Oregon,
I'm a fan of
and
Bill
London.
Burr. I don't know what the reference is. Maybe it's the reference where he went into the black neighborhood to meet his future wife. But yeah, could be.
No, I think he's saying that he had a story where he was on a date and he turned around a corner and there was two guys making out.
Oh, okay. Well,
I assume that's what he's saying.
You're being called out, Kurt. You've been called out.
Right? I know, right?
It could have happened to me. I mean, it is something. This is the kind of crap that
the person that's actually involved in the story is just sort of like, maybe it's true. Like, I'm screwed now. Thanks.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a Bill Burr story, and Chris is just like, yeah, could be a Bill Burr story. Thanks a lot. All right, moving on.
Right, Jason, let's go to the next story. What do we got here?
I'm gonna let you read this, Chris, because I think you'll read it better.
All right, this is the DC Drano one.
Yep.
All right, DC Drano posted this. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I don't want to mess it up.
Just a bunch of observations. He writes, Tucker and Bongino got booted from Fox. Alex Jones owes $1 billion and expects InfoWars to be raided by the feds. Rudy Giuliani owes $100 million for saying that a rigged election was rigged. Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro are being imprisoned, both people that worked for Donald Trump's campaign in 2016. Trump has, and worked for his presidency, obviously. Trump has 34 felonies and was banned off all social media. CFO of Epoch Times was just indicted. James O'Keefe is gone from Project Veritas, but that was a little bit more complicated than just what people might think. OAN was banned from all major satellite networks. Parler was booted off their AWS cloud server. Elon's being sued and investigated by the feds for allowing free speech on Twitter/X, which is insane but true. Also, actually, they're going after Tesla as well. They're just going after Elon Musk like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every alternate elector has been indicted in blue states. The communists have taken over America, and if we don't defeat them in November, this list will look like an appetizer compared to what they'll do to us next.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he posts afterwards. He posts, and they call Trump a fascist dictator. Insane gaslighting. Trump is not a threat to our republic. He's trying to save it. Yeah, I always say, like, exactly what the left is doing by what they accuse conservatives of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody posted the other day something quite brilliant. They posted every accusation is a confession, and I just thought that was such a beautifully put, beautifully constructed sentence, like such a simple way of putting it. Every accusation is a confession. I was just like, why didn't I think of that? That's why I never became a poet, because I don't come up with stuff that's succinct and perfect. But just a perfect way of putting it, and it's so true. Every time they say Trump's going to be a fascist dictator, what is a dictator? What is an authoritarian dictator? It's exactly what they do. It's exactly what they do. And then they'll go, what I think is the most ironic, the funniest, is when they say, if Trump becomes president, we're at risk of him putting his political enemies in prison. Mm-hmm. What? Like, are you guys even? Do you have any concept of what you're saying right now? Like, the guy we're trying to put in prison, if he gets elected president, he might put us in prison.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're literally accusing him of doing what you're doing right now. Yeah, the left is pretty crazy.
AOC is afraid she's going to be put in prison.
Why? Yeah, we should have. Yeah. Why didn't we get that one up here? That one was a great one.
Yeah, why didn't we put that one? But like, she's saying that Trump is going to put her in like, she really thinks she's important, huh?
My comment under that post was, this is the most egocentric woman on the planet.
Yes. Yes,
she really thinks Trump gives a crap about her.
That's what
she came out.
I think Trump wants her to stay around because she's the best thing to ever happen for conservatives.
100%. I think my it's getting so bright in here. I actually have to change the shutter speed. I always leave the shutter speed the same, but the shutter speed's got to go up a little bit.
When you said it's getting so bright in here, I thought you were going to come back with like some Tom Cruise risky business shades on, be like, there, I fixed it. Very disappointing, Chris.
There, I fixed
it.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Our viewership just went up by 100%.
Yeah, so
bright.
But it is amazing. I love this list, and I feel like we should be compiling lists of the abuses of the left like this, because it is really getting out of control. Like they really are like an authoritarian dictatorship at this point. I guess it would be an oligarchical dictatorship, because I don't really think it's Joe Biden, is it? It's some kind of like group of degenerates that run the country at this point. But I think it's important. Kurt's rolling his eyes, but I think it's important to make the distinction, because this idea that Joe Biden runs the country is pretty absurd, I think. I don't think does anybody really believe Joe Biden's doing anything?
No.
Trump was asked about it a while
Pooping
back.
in his pants? I don't know.
Pooping in his pants, right? All right, well, let's move on to the next story.
So this one, like, the new there was a guy that's being charged with skid marking LGBT
unintentional
they
transition
painted it on
there.
the street. Yeah. So it's like the hypocrisy is just incredible in this next one. So
right. So somebody pointed this out. This is on Blaze Media, but Amuse posted this, and he says, "Never forget that just days ago, Democrats arrested 3 teenagers for felonies for making skid marks, you might call them, tire marks, on a street painted with a rainbow. These people, on their hand, are given a free pass." And I absolutely love this. I love the contrast, right, of what the left is permitted to do and what the right is permitted to do. Nobody, even if you're not a conservative, if you're just a normal person, but you don't like the pride flag, you don't like this kind of what do you call it, activism with the pride flags and all this gay. Like, what drives me nuts about the whole gay thing is that, like, what exactly are you proud of, right? This is aberrant sexual behavior. I think I mentioned this on the show last time, that Norm Macdonald was like, nobody's going. I'll say it again. I'm going to say it again. I'm just going to go for it one more time. Norm Macdonald said, "I don't think that these parents of gay men are like, oh, I'm so proud of my son. He went to Harvard. He's an engineer. He's getting a great job, everything. Oh, and he loves cock. He loves cock." I just thought that was such a great thing. Like, why are we celebrating this crap? And I understand where it comes from. It comes from this idea that for decades, for generation, maybe hundreds of years, thousands of years, people who had impulses like homosexual impulses were ashamed of those impulses. As well they should be. But at some point, like, to me, anything sexual should more or less be hidden from public view. That's my view on it. Whatever the sexual impulse is, right? I don't, I think all the sexual stuff that was like kind of out in the open in the 80s, like anything like sex scenes in movies and stuff and nudity in films, I was always uncomfortable even with that. Like, I think all sexual stuff should be hidden. I don't know if I would call it shameful, but just private, should just be private. But for some reason, the LGBTQ what I call P community, because you can't forget about those P's, because to me, it's really, that's what their movement's about, isn't it? They feel like, oh, we had to hide our sexuality for a long time. Well, everybody had to hide their sexuality, because for most of humanity, we have considered those things private, you morons. And now they're like, no, we want to be open about it and have our parades, and run around naked and stuff like that. And so then you have like the White House putting up like, and there was a church in New York that put up rainbow lights the other day, like a cathedral. It made me want to throw up. Jordan Peterson posted it. And the White House is constantly celebrating pride. And I'm like, so what? You're proud of aberrant sexual behavior. You're like, oh, these people have abnormal sexual desires and they're proud of it. And we support that. Well, why the hell would you support that? Why the hell would you support that crap? Why don't you? And the other thing that it stems from is this idea that not only were they ashamed of their sexuality, but they were bullied. And so this is a kind of a reaction to that, where we're saying, not only are we no longer going to bully you, but we're going to embrace you and we're going to give you a hug and we're going to give you a loudspeaker on a platform to talk about your sexually aberrant behavior, you wonderful people, you. What the F is going on in America? Let's just get rid of all the LGBTQP crap. Can we just do that? Can we just like somehow put it in like a box somewhere and shove it underneath like, it's not going to go away, right? You're always going to have gay people and stuff, but let's hide them. Let's hide them. We don't need to be so public. You know what I mean? We don't need the gay parades. We don't need all this crap. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we need to somehow suffocate the LGBTQP movement.
Well, I've seen a bunch of memes and things, and it's like, they're like, okay, if something needs to be normalized, it's because it's not normal. And that's what this is really about. This is about making weirdo, abhorrent behavior sort of like, oh, it's just their kind of thing, you know. It's like there's no good and evil. There's just people that like to do what they like to do. And why are you going to be like a hater?
Yeah.
And it's this hippie nonsense mentality.
Yeah.
And we need to get to a point where society is so dangerous and vicious because for so many years it's been too soft. And
it's been too accepting.
Years ago, I was like, you know, we don't need.
I don't know if I'd use the term dangerous and vicious, just maybe like a little skeptical.
Well, if I'm just saying, if we had like a bunch of like tigers or velociraptors, something roaming around the streets, we wouldn't need handicap parking spots.
You mean not society being dangerous and vicious, but the world being dangerous.
Sort itself out. Yeah, and we're getting to that point where it's like the reality, like we talked about earlier, it's pushing its way into the private lives of people, and this whole thing with girls' sports. Like it was like, okay, we have our own sports, we have scholarships, all this stuff, and you have like some cross-dressing dude coming in and like breaking women's bones and stuff that just wanted a scholarship to a school, and just like, okay, this is what you voted for. If it comes to that, if you need the reality of it to slap you in the face, it's the same thing with marriages. Marriages are going down, birth rates are going down. It's because
how many new subjects can drum up in this
it's because
stream of consciousness diatribe.
It's because we have the government imposing these things on us that we shouldn't have imposed on us, and it's making everything distasteful.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the super chat because it totally relates to your initial point, which would have been great if you just left it at the initial point, which was we need to make society more dangerous. Because MMA Fix, I believe, has come out with a quite a vicious attack on us. He says, first Bill Burr, then Norm, now do Cosby. Too soon? Okay, look, I gave Norm credit. All right. Kurt may have accidentally swapped a Bill Burr story with a Chris Cole story, but I was quoting Norm. I wasn't stealing a joke there, MMA Fix. Thank you very much. But I do appreciate the jab. I do appreciate it. If anybody wants to roast us in the comment section, it's always welcome. I do appreciate it, even if I'm going to strike back ever so slightly. All right, Jason, should we move on to the next story?
Well, I just want to say, like,
hit us. Yeah.
I'm so sick of this, like, when Trump wins and takes over, like, it's time to like get rid of all the LGBT stuff on public stuff, you know, on public property. Whoever does stuff like this on their side, like destroying statues, destroying monuments, destroying all that stuff, arrest them on the spot. Protesting, violent protest, send in the cops, the military. I don't care. Like this needs to end, because this is a color revolution. This is Marxism. This is how it works. This is how it starts. And if you don't put a stop to it early, it just gets to the point where they end up taking over, and then we end up, you know, a communist nation. So I mean, I think
the reduction.
I'm so sick and tired of this. When I was a kid growing up in New York, the one thing that inspired me was when I walked around in New York and I would see all these great statues and of all these great people that created one of the greatest countries, you know. And I would look up to that, and I'd be like, man, this is. I'm so proud of being in this country, you know, and going to a museum and seeing these people, reading about these people, and you know, and never once did I think these people are oppressors or this or that. I was just thanking God that I was in this country, and I was born in this country, you know, and seeing the greatness. And for these people to do stuff like that just pisses me off, man. Like they need a stick to the head. Get the cops, put a stick to their head, make them bleed.
If you get enough people, protesting, you're probably going to have a few people in the crowd that get a little bit rowdy and out of control. Now, they may be people who actually support the movement, or they just might be dickheads that saw a crowd and thought they'd join in, or they might be professional agitators. You know, you never know. Different crowds have different elements.
Most of them are professional agitators. Most of them are being paid to do this because it's to start this revolution. It's to start Marxism, you know? And we got to stop that. And one person writes, maybe it's too late that they're taking all the statues and all that. Well, we'll just build new ones. I don't care.
Yeah, I always said for every historical monument they take down, we just build a Trump statue. They'll stop taking down statues pretty damn quick. That's my plan. But the point I was trying to make is this can happen even in a conservative protest. You could potentially have violence, so. Trump offered National Guard troops on January 6th. I'm doing a video about this right now about Mark Milley. I think the most traitorous scum in Washington D.C. But what just came out, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, new footage of Nancy Pelosi on January 6th. They've always claimed that Trump did not offer National Guard troops and that it was Nancy Pelosi's fault that National Guard troops were never deployed. And they've got new footage on January 6th of Nancy Pelosi saying, I blame myself because I should have put National Guard troops up and I didn't. You've actually got her admitting it on tape on January 6th. Yeah. And the only reason I didn't put it in the show today is because I am doing a video about it. So it'll be in the video soon that I'm posting about Mark Milley, the most disgusting, traitorous scum in Washington, D.C. I mean, I don't think Mark Milley controls anything, but I do believe he's more or less like the hatchet man of the left for the past several years, and you'll see when I post the video what I'm talking about. But disgusting man. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi's. I think Nancy Pelosi has always had a lot of power, and I think she's one of the most. But the thing is, I think the reason she was saying that on the video at that moment was because she was trying to present the case that it was like an insurrection or it had got out of control or it was this like big thing. But she didn't realize that at some point later, the whole question of who was, whether or not National Guard troops were offered was going to be disputed. I don't think she realized that.
Yeah, you're talking about the video where they're in the car, right?
Yeah, she's in the car.
Oh, that was such a setup. That was such a setup. That was so like set up. Yeah, when I was watching,
her daughter.
This is. Go ahead.
Jason, her daughter was making a documentary during January 6th. Which is like a hell of a coincidence. Oh, you know what? We've never done anything before, but we're going to do a documentary. We're going to start it on January 6th, right when this so-called insurrection happens. Mm-hmm. That coincidentally, Nancy Pelosi, who's the subject of the documentary, is now being accused of having essentially initiated as a psyop, and you've got this all being documented. Because if it is a psyop, right, then the whole concept of the psyop is that Nancy Pelosi is the good guy, Trump's the bad guy, Trump supporters are, the evil insurrectionists, and, she's going to come out as this hero. Pelosi's going to come out as this hero who tried to fight against it, right? And that's how they were trying to portray this. And you can tell, like, a lot of the stuff, I wouldn't say it's scripted, but it's obviously that she's playing to camera.
This is supposed to be her, like, what is that movie with the...
It's funny that when Kurt interrupts, he doesn't wait for a break. He just goes, no matter what I'm saying, no matter how...
there are no breaks. But like Liam Neeson...
No, with you there are no breaks. But
Schindler's List moment where he's like, oh, I could have like given this ring, could have saved somebody. She's trying to be like, oh, maybe I could have done something more. Right. It's like obviously like her trying to be falling on her sword. She's playing to camera. She's trying to make it seem like she's this great hero. And I don't know if that documentary came out or when it's going to come out, but it'll almost for sure have this kind of perspective to it where she's this great hero, which I think is ridiculous. Anyway, you guys got anything else to say about these degenerates and these poor kids that are now felons because they rode scooters on a pride flag painting on the road? It's amazing that it's amazing that you put a pride flag on a road and somebody would drive across it. It's astonishing, isn't it? It's like, who would have thought?
How is skid marking a road a felony? Like, and just making it like
it's a hate crime, Jason.
A hate crime, but making it a hate crime, that's the most ridiculous thing. Like, this insanity needs to stop. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a net gain. They're just going to red pill more people, wake people up to the
exactly
state they're imposing. So it's good.
But it's like I said, it's going to red pill people, but like you're still going to have that evil side that's going to be supporting that.
Right.
So it's action needs to happen, man. Action needs to happen. We'll
There
see.
was
November.
It'll
there
always
was a
exist.
story. There's a story detailing how like one of the scooter companies, I think it was Lime, restricted riding their scooters, their rental scooters, over that particular spot.
Yeah.
So if you're riding your scooter toward that spot, your scooter will just stop working.
So you just like pitch yourself into the street and like
I guess. Yeah, you have to like walk it. You have to like carry it across or something. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're not allowed to take a vehicle over that spot now. So like, what is traffic supposed to just go around it?
They're so oppressed. They're so oppressed that they're painting these things all over the streets, and it's
yeah.
You
know what I've always. You have to take a knee and then like hoist the scooter on your back like it's Jesus on the cross, and then you have to walk it across there and prostrate yourself before the woke community. Yeah.
You know what if you walking across the street and you just so happen to like spit unknowingly, just like some people just spit. What if you spit on and some crazy nut sees it? Are you gonna be arrested for a hate crime?
Here's the defense that I want everybody to try to take. You need to do the next stream in your Battlestar Galactica helmet.
Are you reading
a motorcycle helmet?
Are you reading texts? Are you reading comments off of your Dick Tracy watch? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, this is Gorka texted me. I did. There's this guy that looks like Short Round. I sent you guys a video, and I'm in my helmet because I was leaving.
Yeah.
He calls it my Battlestar Galactica helmet. Look, this is the defense I want everybody to use when they get in trouble for driving across the pride flag or spitting on it or burning it or whatever else you want to do with the pride flag. Pride flags are ugly. Flags are ugly. There's more than one reason to hate the pride flag. It may not be that you hate the gays. It may be that you just have an aesthetic distaste for rainbow colored stuff. Okay, because the rainbow colored look, it was used for like comedian suspenders in the 70s. Why? Because it looks ridiculous. Everybody knows
and
rainbow
Williams,
colored.
Out of shame, killed himself. He was just like, he saw a photo of him years earlier. He was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I wore that. Oh. And then he was gone. And that's the proper
what the hell, man?
For that sort of fashion. For that sort of fashion faux pas.
Messed up.
It was totally sane.
Fortunately, I think Robin Williams is in whatever afterlife he's in, probably laughing at the joke.
Maybe he saw Hook. It could be that too.
I think he would appreciate that joke. So I'll let that go. But man, that is hardcore. Anyway,
and let me tell you, I'm so sick of it all. Like, not even the Pride Month, whatever thing, like Hispanic Month, Women's Month, this, that crap. I'm sick of it all, man. Like, I'm so tired of it. Like, stop with the stupidity,
Jason,
man.
The Hallmark store provides jobs for plenty of people who wouldn't otherwise have jobs.
True,
and we need to have,
it might be a money thing.
Every day, every week, every moment of our existence has to be quantified by some sort of a movement.
You're saying something smart there. Like, yeah, it's a corporate thing, maybe.
You're
absolutely right.
No, like if you go to any streaming service and you scroll down, if it's June, which is Gay Month, right? They'll have like watch movies with pride or watch a series with pride, and they'll have like this list of this whole section of gay crap. And it'll all be rainbow.
You know what gets me?
Yeah.
Like,
Pacific
do you
Islander,
want
whatever?
You know what gets me when you're gonna pay for something? Do you want to donate to the LGBTQ? I'm like, why do they need money? Like they're getting everything. I don't get it. They need more money.
I'll steal from them. Is that an option? Can I steal from them? The opposite of donating money.
How about donating to causes that really, like kids with cancer or something? Why do I want to donate to LGBT? For what? For what? Like, there's kids dying of cancer right now. Let's donate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's some amazing there's some amazing charities out there. And every time I do my show, my Make Movies Great Again show,
don't you dare give any money to them, because we need super chats, because we need to keep this show on the air. So the cancer kids have to wait at least one more day.
That's a viciously rude interruption that I'll get behind. I don't mind that one. All right. Yeah. Well, anyway, Gorka always promotes this charity where you can give. I forget something. Angel Tree. I think it's called Angel Tree, where they help out these kids whose fathers are in prison. It's like a Christian charity to help out these kids whose fathers. And I was. Kurt is on fire today.
Why, I'm turning a bit red.
But I think it's great. I think it's a great charity. And there's so many great charities. Like, why would anyone give to LGBTQP garbage? Just make the world more sexually aberrant and weird. Yeah.
Just to let everybody know, Kurt is a minority, so he has every right to say stuff like that.
I'm absolved. I'm allowed to say this.
Prison fellowship. Sorry, Angel Tree is a summer camp. So Angel Tree is a summer camp, like a Christian summer camp. And Gorka says prison fellowship is the one where they deal with kids with.
How many lowly podcasts?
And he says, go to sebgorka.com to donate to that charity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I was going to praise Gorka for spending his valuable time and effort, basically fact checking and providing us with support on our lowly little show here. But he snuck in a plug, so.
Yeah, but it's not a plug for himself. It's a plug for the charity that I'm talking about. But I always thought that was very cool that he does these commercials at every radio show for these amazing charities. All right, Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company jumps in. He says veterans, they get a single day, but the LGBTHIV plus gets an entire month. Our priorities are effed. That is 100% true. Great observation, and I cannot possibly agree more. It is disgusting.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned this before, Chris. Like, it's funny, like with the donation thing. Like, some of the richest people in the country are like gays and homosexuals. You know, like they don't need money.
No,
statistically speaking, gay men make more money than regular.
Wasn't paying him what he thought he was worth because Don Lemon's oppressed. All of these guys are just like, he's a victim. He's a famous.
How dare you not let Don Lemon do a podcast from space? Yeah, all right, let's jump into the next story, Jace.
The real minimum wage is and always will be $0. Report 10,000. Report 10,000 California fast food jobs cut due to $20 minimum wage.
Well, 0 is precisely what Gavin Newsom was worth.
I actually hadn't read Breitbart's little comment on that.
I mean, it's obvious there. What like the headline is enough. I mean,
of course,
it's atypical of Democrats causing issues and making problems. I actually responded to that and I wrote I gotta look for my tweet. Go on, Chris, if you want to say.
Well, there's a I had the idea many years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so. I had this idea. I thought it would be really cool to do. No, even before that, I think it was because I went to the Netherlands in, I think it was like 2005, the first time I ever traveled through Europe. And there was this vending machine. You could put money in, your euros or whatever, and then you would put the number that you wanted, and it was like a wall of doors, of like little doors, and you would put the number you wanted, and it would unlock the door that you wanted, and you would open the little door, and then you'd pull out your little hot dog or whatever it was, and it was like a wall of it was like a vending machine that was an entire wall, and this is fairly common in the Netherlands, and you can get like sandwiches and stuff, like you can get pretty decent sized food. I thought that's a kind of an interesting idea. And so from that, I came up with this idea of robotics has come a long way. And you could actually create a restaurant, like a McDonald's type thing, like a drive-through restaurant, where everything's automated and it's all behind plexiglass, right? Yeah. That was my idea.
Chris's dream for the future society is where he never has to interact with any immigrants or poor people at all. He can just get his freaking fillet of fish, and he never has to look at somebody or touch anything.
Yeah. Well, right, because here's the thing: like, people like the human interaction in normal life in most circumstances, but do you really want the human interaction at a fast food restaurant. I mean, it's not exactly the most stimulating human interaction that there is in the world, you know. And also, you've always got with any kind of food thing, you've always got the concern that some gross teenager hasn't washed his hands properly or something like that, right? But if everything's automated, right? It's pre-done in a factory and then automated. The other cool thing is those robotic things are kind of fun to watch. You know, and if you overcomplicated it even like more than you needed to. Exactly. It's like a Disney ride. Exactly. So you could create like a plexiglass building. It wouldn't even have to be that big. You know, it would just have to be cool to watch with like big gears and like clockwork stuff. And, you know, like this big spatula comes in and flips the burger or whatever.
Nobody
goes
wants
to the
to
frame broiler, whatever it might be.
Pimply-faced teenager. Everybody wants to see Johnny Five in real life. Like, oh,
exactly.
Yes, I will make your burger for you. Yeah.
You would only need one guy, and this one guy could go to like the 5 different stores they have in a particular area on rotation, and just like, you know, do the cleaning and the maintenance and make sure everything's working properly and make sure the windows are cleaned, and you know, maybe have a cleaning crew come in, you know, every morning and every night and clean it all up. And so you got the cleanliness, you've got the visual spectacle, and presumably you've got delicious burgers. And I read somewhere, or I watched, or I was listening to the radio or something like that, and apparently they've done this. They now have automated burger places in California because they knew the minimum wage was going to go up. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the way of the future. I don't think we're going to. I think this 10,000 California fast food jobs, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, man.
Yeah.
I think it's going to become more and more automated.
Before I forget, do you think that this is an actual plot, a larger plot to sort of like collapse the economy in California and to drive towards socialism? Because Gavin Newsom is obviously an idiot. I mean, but he's perfect because he's dumb and he loves power. So like the conspiracy theory that he's going to be the one to be propped up and like slide in and replace Biden, I'm just like, he's so corrupt and incompetent that like, yeah, I tend to believe that conspiracy theory. But the idea that they're purposefully collapsing the economy in California, just like it was on its way there anyway. Are they expediting the process, or
it seems
is
like
this
that.
just them believing their BS so hard? They're just like,
it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It seems like
been tried yet. You know, is
so,
it that thing?
It's so stupid, Kurt. It's so stupid. It seems like a conspiracy like that. You know what's funny though?
I'm projecting, aren't I?
You know what's funny, Kurt? There's going to be new jobs for Asians and Indians, because there need to be technical people fixing all these robots. You know? So
yes, I love it.
All these minorities are going to be losing their jobs, and you're going to have Indians and Asians with these high-paying jobs.
Well, that's just the thing.
Congratulations, lefties.
Decades ago, who would be the ones like Chris is like? Obviously, he'd prefer robots to teenagers, but it used to be a thing where it's just like minimum wage jobs weren't meant to be the job they supported a family on. And now we've got like with feminists and everything, it's just like, okay, the man's working, the woman's working, everybody's getting paid half what they used to get paid. And then the teenagers don't work at all. They're just sort of like, well, well,
listen, Kurt, you say I don't. I said I made the joke about the teenager who didn't wash his hands, but that's not really who's working at the fast food joints, is it? I mean,
no,
come
it's
on.
not. It's immigrants.
That's not who. So, like, if I go back to Oregon and I go to like where I'm from Oregon originally, and I go to some small town, like on my way up from LA, go to some small town, and I run into a Subway or I run into a McDonald's to get a little bit of food on my way up to see the family. I'm always shocked because a lot of the time it's like white teenagers, like what you would see in the 1980s.
Yeah,
and the crazy thing,
Chris, in fact. Didn't you,
Kurt, let me finish my thought, please. Thank you very much. My God, this is never going to end, is it? The whole episode is going to be Kurt screaming at me when I'm halfway done with a story. I worked at Burger King many years ago, yeah. But so I would go into these small towns, and you see these like, and they're like all white kids, and they're like, you know, whatever, it's 15, 16, 17. And they're like the most polite people you've ever met. They're so respectful. They're so kind. They're so polite. And it's like, and I'm just looking around like, what kind of weird Twilight Zone world have I entered into where it's like I'm like back in the early 90s, I'm back in the 80s. People are nice, you know. It's weird because in LA, you go to a fast food restaurant, you're lucky if the person speaks English, first of all. Secondly, if they do speak English, they talk like this, and they are the most rude, nasty people you ever talk to. Like some of them are nice. Occasionally, you will find a nice person at a fast food joint in LA, but it's shocking when you get. It's like really like it's amazing. I don't know what it's like in Miami. Yeah,
it all depends though, because you have businesses like Chick-fil-A and like In-N-Out Burger and stuff, where they actually do treat their employees well and pay them well and expect them to adhere to a certain level of
some places there's certain
behavior
places for sure.
And that's the difference. It's sort of like you have these places like McDonald's and Burger King and things like that where they go by the corporate structure, just like, okay, just put a warm body in there, that the body is worth this much and the robot costs this much, we'll swap them out. So it's really all about sort of like conservative type of industries, businesses like Chick-fil-A and like Raising Cane's. They pay their employees well. They demand a certain level of performance from them. Just like, okay, is that what we want as a society? How are we going? We have options. The beauty of capitalism at work.
Well, that's I think you don't need a minimum wage if your company just wants to be better than the next company. I mean, that's why capitalism works so well, is because if you give the option of a company to like compete, the companies that are better will rise to the top. I mean, we've had consistent improvement with the quality of like lots of different things in society because of this.
But not only that, like if there was no minimum wage, everything would be so much cheaper. Like, you know, if you were making like $5 an hour, but everything costs like dollars, I mean, it'd be so much better. Like,
let the market decide. Let the market decide.
And that's really the issue. Is it's all a big push towards communism. It's all a push for stronger government, more powerful government. Their ultimate goal is everybody's working for them. There are no small.
Well, here's the thing. You keep saying communism, and I think that's more or less right, but I don't know if they realize it. That's the thing. So the effect of communism is always authoritarianism, right? Or oligarchy, oligarchical authoritarianism, or dictatorial oligarchy, or whatever it is. Anyway, point is, it's always this control of the few. You're controlling everyone. This like small group at the top. And that's what they want, really. I think what they want is this sort of ultimate control of the populace. I don't think they really care how they get it. So to say that they want communism is a little bit, I would say, not entirely accurate. They want the effect that communism provides, right? Which is this
but
control,
they make their minions believe that we're gonna make the first good communist state, you know. So the kids and everybody are believing that crap. But you're right.
Well, there are some people who actually believe. There are some people who actually straight up want communism.
Yeah,
they actually think communism will work, and it's a good way to get authoritarian or totalitarian control is to convince people that communism is the way forward. You know.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like their main point, their main purpose is power. Like they just want power. Yeah.
Why do we have so few views today? This is weird. I don't know. Maybe this counter's off or something. Half Power and Concrete Simplified company comes must be comes back and he says, if you're worried about minimum wage, buy a self-help book and apply to technical college. Stop being a leech on society. Straight up. MMA Fix $5 says, I took Jason's advice and tried to donate to kids with cancer. Turns out the charity only helps gay kids with cancer. Only donating to you guys. MMA Fix us jokes, man. MMA Fix us jokes. I love
Got them jokes today.
All right. You want to move on to the next one?
Yep. Lawfare failure. Trump commands 50% support, national lead over Biden. Yeah, of course.
Oh, I didn't even see this one. You want to talk about it, Jason?
Well, basically, what's going on with him, after his conviction and everything, is just his support and his numbers have risen even higher. So
he's
Yeah, it's backfire. He's basically going to win.
I think I think we talked about this last week as well. But let's go ahead and play this video. If it plays.
It's a terrible precedent for our country. Does that mean the next president does it to them? That's really the question. And it's very possible that it's going to happen to them.
Based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. Revenge does take time. I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified.
Governor, is that the message you think Donald Trump should be focusing on in this campaign right now?
Well, his message has clearly been that his only vengeance will be America's success. He is not interested in going after political opponents. He is interested in going back to the White House and working for the American people and their families, bringing down inflation costs.
Here we go.
That's what I'm hearing overwhelmingly here in Wisconsin, is that this swing state is so important.
All right, I don't want to hear about Wisconsin. I don't care.
Yeah.
She's so pretty. Why is she a dog killer? So
Shout out
sad.
to all of our viewers in Wisconsin. We love you all, even Chris.
I know they can't say it right now, but they need. I know they can't say it right now, but they need to stop saying like he's not going to be at like. It's not about the political people. Like, he's going to go after and say they need to stop saying that because I think they also need to get the public ready for something like that, but not give it in a way where it's obvious. But they need to stop.
Well, hold on, Jason. Hold on, Jason. I have an answer to that, actually. But first, I want to read this because this is from the previous segment. Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says, fast food worker equals mumble rapper. They look ridiculous, malnourished, and can't understand crap. And I can't understand the crap that they say. Yeah, that's true. They either look malnourished or they looked the opposite of malnourished.
That's how it's
overly nourished.
But that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. That's what fast food workers are supposed to be.
Hold on. So I've actually posted a tweet about exactly this, what you just said, Jason. And I wrote, they keep calling it revenge. I call it cutting out the cancer of corruption. Yeah. And a lot of people commented on my post, and they said I prefer justice and other things like that. Other people, like this guy, right? Justice is very hungry and this kind of thing. So,
man, Chris, I got to start tweeting like you. pass some tweets to me, Chris. Don't put it on yours. Just say, "Hey, Jason, tweet this for me."
You tweet
on
this,
yours.
Yeah. No, well, look,
share the love. Share the love.
I don't do very well anyway. I think I got like 100 likes. I don't know why my Twitter can't grow. I don't know. I got to talk to Elon Musk about that. But yeah, it's weird. Like my Twitter, there's always crap. I think I post great things, and so sometimes I write like maybe I'm just not good at tweeting, and then that tweet doesn't get very many views either. So I don't know.
Well, that tweet is on point. Like,
thank you, my friend. Yeah, but that's the point. Is like here's the thing. I believe that we've been much too nice as a conservative party. Yes. I think Trump went in and he said, let's drain the swamp. Let's cut out the corruption. Let's look at this deep state group. Let's look at these, what we now call like the administrative state, the permanent bureaucracy in Washington. We have many different names for it, but these people who are embedded in DC, who don't act in the best interest of the American people, they act in the best interest of themselves, their cronies, whatever it might be. Let's get them out. And Trump was actually a little bit more effective in doing that than we have been able to do previously. But even in Trump's first term, he was like, it would be too divisive to actually try and convict Hillary Clinton of her crimes. Even though she did commit crimes, he believed that it would be too divisive, so he just kind of like let it go. So what did the Democrats do? They said, oh, Trump didn't just talk about how we're corrupt. He actually ousted a few of us from political office and from our positions in the permanent, administrative state. And therefore, Trump is dangerous. Trump could potentially get rid of all of us. Trump could potentially, I think, expose the crimes of these people. And I think they're worried about that. Now, that's something that's obviously speculative, but I'm 100% convinced that that's true. So these people are going, okay, Trump is potentially a bigger danger than any conservative we've ever had in public office, and therefore we can never let him be president again. And so they've gone, I think, openly corrupt at this point, right? I mean, they with the whatever it is, 37 convictions or guilty verdicts, against Donald Trump, whatever it might be. And then all the people, or was it 34? 34. And
34.
then all the people that were on January 6th that they've sent to court, and like this, they just have become openly corrupt. All the things that we read earlier from DC Drano, all these things, they're authoritarians now. They don't care. So now we're in a position where, okay, you guys have shown your hand. Once we get into office, this is not revenge for what you did to Trump. This is not revenge for what you did to the January 6ers. This will be us getting rid of criminals, getting rid of corruption in Washington, D.C. This will be cleaning house. All we did is we presented a scenario, we facilitated a scenario in which you exposed yourself. That's on you guys. Sorry. This is not revenge. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what should have happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, but we thought it was too divisive. We didn't do it. I don't want to be divisive anymore. I don't think sending these crooks to prison will be divisive. I showed this video. I'll show it to you guys at the end of the show, but I made this video where Trump is describing how Joe Biden can't walk off a stage, which we'll show at the end of the video. And I sent it to my mother, and my mother said, "It's so sad." And I wrote back, "It's sad that this idiot runs our country."
Yeah.
And my mom wrote back, "Yeah, but it's sad for him personally too." And I wrote back, "Mom, this man is a criminal. He's totally corrupt, and he runs our country. He deserves no sympathy. He deserves, as Cobra Kai would like to say, no mercy. We cannot be nice to these people. You cannot be nice to a criminal because they're an idiot.
Yeah.
You can't be nice to a criminal because they're an idiot. If somebody goes and murders your daughter, and you see him in court and he seems like a little bit scared because he's in court, you don't go, "Oh, it's okay. He's just a scared, timid little man. Let him go." No, you go, "Send that mother to prison for the rest of his life. He killed my daughter." So you don't be nice to Joe Biden because he seems like a well-meaning dopey old man. No, that MFer took bribes from foreign actors to manipulate our foreign policy in America against the best interest of Americans. Screw him, goes to prison for the rest of his life. That's what I have to say about that. And all of the corrupt deep state players. Not
only that, tens of thousands of lives being wasted in stupid wars and stuff like that. Like that shouldn't have never happened.
But that's going to happen with every president. You got
not Trump. I mean, not a single war with Trump.
But the point I'm trying. I mean, like I kind of agree with you though, because I don't think that the wars that we are engaging in.
That's what I mean. I'm not talking about
are for any good reason. We're just doing it to embezzle money, essentially.
I'm not talking about wars in general. I'm talking about like the specific wars that Biden got us into is evil. But
fair enough.
So the whole thing, like the way they talk, oh, Trump, when he gets into power, no, he's gonna make America great again. He's gonna do this better for the economy. No, stop with that. Like, okay, say that, but then you have to say, like, counter them and say, like what the guy wrote, you got to say like, but if Trump wants to seek out justice, he has every right to. I mean, like, come on, stop, stop feeding these people to, like, when he takes over and he does seek justice, that they say, oh, look, it's revenge and we can't allow this,
Well, the reason they characterize it as revenge is because it's like saying somebody did something to you that you didn't like. And so you irrationally lashed out back at them, or you did something unjust back to them because they did something that you didn't like.
And that's what the left does. I'm sorry, but that's what the left does great. They pick great words for.
Of course, they're great. But the truth is, vengeance historically has often been just. Sebastian Gorka wants to know about me working at Burger King. He says, "Okay, what's the secret to their breaded sandwich? The best fast food out there after KFC." We did make the breaded chicken sandwich. Those were quite good. I would have to say.
Oh, like the original old school one that's like long. It's like a sub-shaped sandwich.
It's like a sub. And he says, Andrew McCabe says that the top FBI officials are preparing to flee the country if Trump wins, and he goes, Not if we get to their passports first.
Well, they just want
I love
wives that won't sort of like look down on them. They're just like, just want to marry someone who has traditional values, and we can't judge them for that.
And he go, you're saying that they're passport bros,
Yes,
and then Gorka comes in. He says it's not revenge; it's justice combined with the dismantling of the unaccountable, corrupt, permanent bureaucracy. That's absolutely right.
Well,
and this
as
guy,
Val Kilmer
and this
said,
guy, Hoff Power Concrete and Semperfied Crawfish Company. He says justice needs to be served, or they will do it again when they are back in power. And that's exactly the point I was getting to, which is that these people have to go. Because vengeance traditionally, if you like watch movies with Clint Eastwood and stuff, it's not actually irrational. It's not actually unjust. It's often something that's genuinely horrible is done. Justice has not been served, and so this guy's got to come out and, as an act of vengeance, take down the people that killed his family or whatever it might be, right? And so, to me, this is exactly what's going on. A lot of injustices have occurred. A lot of corruption exists in Washington, D.C. We do have to clean it out. If we don't clean it out, then the rot will continue and it will just destroy the country. So something desperate has to be done at this point. And what we're looking at here is an injustice that occurred to Trump. It was injustices that occurred to the January 6th protesters, injustices all over the country. And what we're going to bring back to the country is justice. They call it revenge because they want it to sound like something that we're doing that's irrational and unjust. But in reality, I think that most of the country recognizes what's really going on here.
To instill fear, to sort of say like Trump's coming for you. It's to elicit an emotional reaction. And what I was going to say was Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday in Tombstone, when he was describing Wyatt Earp and his actions, it's not revenge he's after, it's a reckoning.
It's a reckoning. Oh my God, that's such a perfect line for 2024, man. It's not revenge we're after, it's a reckoning. I might put that on a t-shirt. Thank you, Kurt. I'm stealing that.
Good night, everybody. All right, I'm logging off. But seriously though, yeah, it's scare tactics. Like I've said before, they're acting out of desperation, and they should be desperate because the tide is turning on them. And when it comes to Trump, I feel like Trump, like the Mitt Romney era, this sort of like Mitt Romney was sort of like a pale imitation of like a original Mr. Reagan, not you, of course, but Mitt Romney was trying to be Ronald Reagan, but he didn't have the stuff for it. He didn't have the right stuff. He had the wrong stuff. So instead, we got this Trump, and it was like the Never Trumpers like, oh, Trump isn't Ronald Reagan. He's not the kind of guy that we want, but he's the kind of guy we need now because he's the guy that's sort of going to throw them off. He's the kind of guy that's going to fight fire with fire. Like when he was debating Hillary, and she was talking all this smack, he's like, "Because you'd be in jail," and she was like, she got shut down because you need somebody that's going to be like, "Okay, come at me." He's basically a politician. Nowadays needs to be Eminem.
So he is like Reagan.
He needs to be a battle rapper.
So you just prove that he is like Reagan, because Reagan was the person we needed at that time in the 80s, because he countered the Democrats at that time. He went used their game against them, just like Trump. So in actuality, he is like Trump. I mean, he is like Reagan
in essence, but not stylistically.
He says now the FBI is doing political damage purity tests on your clearance. There's a story here. It says, this is from Just the News, which I think is John Solomon's site. And they've written, in shocking litmus test, FBI security inquiry tied to unmasked employees' Trump support. So if you support Trump, that now you're no longer allowed to join the FBI. That's mental. I might have to do actually like a full story on that, because that's completely crazy. I don't know if he's writing about the show or he just sent that to me because.
Wait, that's an actual thing. That's like real.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, he writes, communism has arrived. You basically fail if you're pro Donald Trump, if you're anti-vaccine, or if you're pro Second Amendment. Yeah, could you imagine an FBI agent who's pro Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. That would be terrible.
They all walk around carrying like thumping sticks, right? They don't have guns or anything. That would just be too oppressive.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh man, these things when Trump takes over, they need to be gutted, man.
Yeah,
it's so sad to hear this stuff, like how we ended up.
And it's good you brought that up.
We need justice.
Like,
justice must arrive.
Do you guys think that Trump is kind of trolling at this point too? Like he's kind of poking them because he knows that they're going to like bite on everything. If he says something that's in any way provocative.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You think he's doing? He's been doing that since 2016. Trump loves trolling. Trump's like we used to call him King Troll, I think.
Well, I judge everything he says in a vacuum. So when he says something like revenge, I'm like, okay, he knows what he's saying. He said revenge for a reason, and he said
it wasn't Trump that it wasn't Trump that brought that word up. That it's the left keeps accusing him.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Kurt doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's move on to the next story.
Five. I like this, Kurt. Every episode you should be like this.
Annoyed.
Okay. You're making me look good here. 5 celebrities.
You bastard.
That
was cold, bro.
5. My reading stuff doesn't look too bad today, so
Okay. Well, you set yourself up for failure. Let's see how you do with this. Come on.
Yeah.
5 celebrities who regret endorsing Joe Biden in 2020. So there's a list.
Now this is I actually did a video about this a while back. So this to me wasn't very shocking, and I don't really have too much to add to it. What, you guys want to talk about this?
I mean, it's like that's something. When you have big named actors and singers and stuff actually regretting what
drooling masses.
Yeah, it's like after they're actually regretting their decision. Yeah. They're actually regretting their decision of voting for over endorsing Joe Biden. That says a lot. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, actually, I posted. So go on, Kurt. Yeah, you got something to say.
So yeah, the handful of people. It's probably actually, sadly, a large amount of people who care about what The Rock or Cardi B or these people have to say. If they're like, yeah, voting for Joe Biden was a bad idea. Probably shouldn't do that. I just like, that's great because they want these kind of voters, the voters that are sort of like young and into pop culture and don't really know anything about politics. But I feel like that's also not really that big of a deal because we all live in the world. We all know what is going on in terms of like what our money is worth and what the job markets are like and that sort of thing. So it's good, but I mean, yeah.
Look,
we'll see.
There are stupid people.
For Charlemagne to say he's not going to support Biden this time around, that's pretty big.
I don't call him by that name. He stole the name of one of the greatest European kings of all time, and I hate that.
I won't say
Doug God.
I don't care. I don't care about Charlemagne. I would never mention the other word after that. The other 2 words.
Yeah, it's such a terrible name that he's taken. Everybody just calls him. I think his real name is like Lester or something. Everybody should just call him Lester. But anyway, this one's my favorite one.
Now you know why he changed his name.
Exactly. It's not Lester, but it's something similar. It's his dead name. Yeah, he does wear a lot of makeup. It's a little weird. So this chick's Amber Rose. The only thing I know about her is she used to date Kanye West. Apparently, she's a model or something. But anyway, they got her. TMZ's caught her here, and she's like, and this is like the best thing I've ever heard. Like somebody who used to be like a full-on leftist. This is fantastic what she says here. It's amazing.
A lot of people were shocked with your, endorsement of Donald Trump. I mean, you're all about women's rights issues. I mean, what was the reason for the big change?
Is Donald Trump not for women's rights issues?
I mean, I guess a lot of people were asking.
Trying to make America great again. That's for women too, right?
That's true. I mean,
okay. So there you go.
I know. Does him getting convicted change the way you view him?
Not at all.
I mean, do you think it'll help his chances getting reelected or you'll hurt him?
I think it helps him more. I think it actually helps more. Yeah, absolutely. I think people see the injustice and what happened and they want to vote for him more than ever.
I know. I wanted to ask you. So it seems like a lot of celebrities are kind of voting for Trump now. I mean, why do you think people are kind of changing their way of
I think we're just we just did our research and we're just, you know, we're not brainwashed anymore by the left.
God damn.
I know that about myself. All these years I've been brainwashed and I'm not anymore. So
a lot of people were.
That's huge
Wow.
for celebrities.
Isn't
to
that the
start saying
best?
that.
Isn't that the best? I absolutely. She was like, I can say that about myself. I was brainwashed.
She
I did
started
my
strong,
research.
too.
I'm not
She was
brainwashed.
just like, well, I mean, women are people too, aren't they? So I mean, like,
I know.
if he loves America, then he loves all Americans, and that includes everybody, including women.
And she was just like,
Power
Concrete.
It was great.
Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company jumped in with the name of this guy that calls himself Charlemagne. There was a Charlemagne, by the way. He's considered the first king of the Holy Roman Empire, or the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. A great man, not this radio talk show host.
I didn't vote for him.
But this radio talk show host, this black guy wears too much makeup. His real name's Leonard. So let's just all call him Leonard from now on. I said Lester, but it's Leonard. I messed it up. But yeah, it's Leonard. So let's just call him Leonard from now on because that's his name. It's not whatever he calls himself on the show. But anyway, back to this. I don't really know much about this chick. Maybe I disagree with her politics. I don't know. But I love what she says here. I absolutely love what she says here. She's not brainwashed anymore. And I do actually think that saying things like this from somebody with this kind of platform, I think she's probably got a lot of followers, or probably like on Instagram or TikTok or something. So she will have an impact. I mean, and the more celebrities that say stuff like this, the more of an impact it'll have. And this is again what I was talking about, the power of the internet. This woman did not change her views because she watched NBC. She did not change her views because she was watching The View. She changed her views probably because she watched something like Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Or maybe Toxic Masculinity.
I'm sure that was it.
Anyway, you got anything to say, gentlemen? Or should we move on?
Nope, we can move on. I just think it's great.
No, I think
that
when
you start seeing those people really actually, like, even The Rock said that he made a mistake. He's not saying who he's gonna vote for, but even The Rock said he made a mistake. That's huge.
I think he was on Fox News in an interview on Fox News, right?
Yeah, and he
bring up The Rock. That dude blows with the wind. That dude is all about, like, he's just watching his stock reports and watching like his public reception, like, oh, I'm going to pivot this way or that way. He's a born politician. And actually, it's great.
Kurt doesn't like him because he's from Hawaii.
Look, but that says, Kurt, hold on.
Jason,
hold on. That says something about everything. Like, if it's affecting his public perspective,
he's right.
Then Hollywood is rethinking about this whole message thing that they're giving out. So
Hollywood in general is losing influence, just like the mainstream media is losing influence. But in terms of like somebody like The Rock, it's like, he exists kind of like as a product. So he's sort of a barometer.
Yeah, but if you say back in the day, if you said you're voting for Clinton or voting for Biden and you were a star, no, it wouldn't be a big issue. It wouldn't be like for him to actually say that he regrets doing that. That's big because he's like the biggest star. So
that's representative of him knowing where the political spectrum is leaning. He is assessing
exactly
the
my point
of the room and going like
exactly my point. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I have one question for you guys.
I made the point concisely for you. Go on, Chris.
Can you tell how The Rock is voting? All right, that was a silly thing to do. All right, shall we move on to the next?
He's too busy peeing in water bottles and having assistants thrown away for him. He's not voting.
I would do that if I had assistants.
He's not showing up.
I would do that. Why not?
Fair enough.
Throw this away, minion.
I just want to say I see a comment here. And it's a comment that says, "My God, I hope y'all wake up about Trump. I used to be a huge supporter." You see, this is the problem, man. Wake up about what? Great economy. I was living. I was living.
He's a Zionist.
Kurt, can I finish what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
He was photographed with a Jewish person shaking hands once. So like that's the problem with the freaking conservatives.
Jason
like,
is feeling my pain. Yeah.
He did one thing. He did one thing I didn't like, so I'm going to write him off. I'm going to let just Joe Biden and everybody take over this country.
Yeah, but there's a problem with our side that makes me sick, and I can't stand like when Trump was president, man. It was one of the greatest times in my life, like the money wise, prosperity wise, you know, and
somebody just telling the truth in Washington.
Yeah. And then later on they'll say something like, oh, he's the one that created the warp speed thing, but he never enforced the vaccine on people. Actually, he was talking about alternative medicines all the time.
Or the lockdowns. Okay?
Yeah, and what would you expect a president to do during this takeover that the left was doing while he was president? You know, I mean,
Jason, actually, Kurt did mention one thing that I think is actually accurate, which is that a lot of the people that come in criticizing Trump are like hyper anti-Israel right now. There's this like weird anti-Israel movement on the right. It's not very big, but it's very vocal. And you were right to mention the vaccines. There are some people who just will never forgive Trump about the vaccines. And then there's a third faction, which I think is, I'm not really sure what they're. A lot of them are vaccine people too. They were just like obsessed with who's the guy down in Florida? Governor of Florida. Who's governor? Yeah, DeSantis. There are these DeSantis people who are really just obsessed with Ron DeSantis. I don't really know what it is. They're just like in love with him. And they can't ever support Trump because Trump beat DeSantis in the primaries and they just hate it and it just drives them crazy. So they're looking every way they can to get. I wouldn't give time to these guys. I don't think we should give a lot of time to these guys.
Yeah.
Well,
just write in Jeb Bush.
Well, the true test will be in November when he wins president, because we only have two options now, people. It's going to be Trump and Biden. Yeah. I don't know. I think they might do a last minute get rid of Biden.
Jason, I think this movement against Trump on the right is really small. They're just very vocal. So I don't think it's even worth talking about these guys. I don't think it's as big of a concern as people think.
No, because I'm all, you know, I'm like that. I always question everything and all that.
Of course, yeah.
But I what he did when he was president, there's never been a president in my life that's done one. And the most important
he's the only option we have to get rid of the deep state or to get rid of the corruption.
That's what I was just gonna say. The most important thing he did was bring out the deep state, brought out the lies, brought out the evil, put it all in the light. If anything, that's the greatest thing he's ever done, and I'm grateful for that. And that's why I'll vote for him this November.
Yeah. And that's the best thing about Trump is that he's brave. He's set out to save this country, and he will martyr himself to do it. He'll take it all. He'll take all of the obstruction, all of the attacks. They're trying to take his money, trying to take his property, trying to take his freedom, and yet he continues. So if you're someone who believes in this country and believes in freedom, and you look at Trump and like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this guy. Like, what world are you living in? Wake up.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
All right, Chase, what do we got? What do we got next?
One last thing. When you know when everybody's against you, when everybody hates you, the media, the deep state, all the politicians, including on Republican side and Democrat side, when everybody's against you, when they're trying to destroy you, get your money, you know this is not the average person running for president. You know that there's something about this man. Right. Okay, so you know,
if you're scaring the corrupt people in Washington D.C.,
yes,
you're doing something right.
Yes.
So if you're critical of the corruption in D.C., you got to vote for the guy they're scared of. I think.
Let's be like the left here and band together, okay? And let's take this country back.
Band of brothers on the right. Next article, love it.
I don't know if you want to go to the last one. It's up to you guys. What do you want to?
Yeah, no, let's do this. The Ashley St. Clair one. Yeah.
So pro-Palestine TikToker harasses mediocre white people eating lunch in Washington, D.C.
And then I know this girl, Ashley St. Clair. She's one of the most successful people on Twitter. She's almost got 1 million followers. Elon Musk retweets her all the time. And I happen to know her. And I'm always irritated. I'm like, why doesn't Elon Musk repost my stuff? But let's have a look at this. This is pretty funny because these are obviously like hardcore leftists at lunch, and there's some like racist leftist activist going to harass them. Let's watch.
We are going to do an ethnography on people who eat at Tate, the most basic Israeli establishment in D.C. Here we have some mediocre white people to start the day off. More mediocre white people. More mediocre white people. Thank you for the smile, sir. There, a chubby mediocre white man. Hi, excuse me, ma'am. Can we ask you your stance on Palestine? Any stance, ma'am? No stance? No stances? No? Just what do you have for brunch? Some shakshuka? Some Palestinian shakshuka? Aib aleki ya kelba. You guys, we're going to give you a pass, but next time, please skip Tate. It's owned by devilish white people. Guys, look at this white man here. Sir, do you have a stance on Palestine? Sir, I say, sir, I say,
Whoops,
sir.
skipped over a couple there, didn't he?
Sir, I say, sir. Yep, get up. Brunch is over, sir. Brunch has been declared over, sir.
Became Foghorn Leghorn.
Jabronis at Tate. Tate restaurant, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Woo!
All right. So anyway, he's a degenerate.
You know what's funny? It's the left eating their own.
Well, that's it. That's why it's funny, right? It's because
I love how they were like two women of size and melanin, and he was just like, whoop. I'll just skip over that.
Two women of size. Yeah, exactly. It just skips right over them.
Typical.
But you guys didn't know this.
They probably all voted for Biden.
Exactly. That's why it's so funny. But here's you guys didn't know this, but I actually commented on this before you guys got there. Before you guys posted this for us to comment today, and I wrote, "Careful, dude. Not every white person is this polite." And other people commented on my comment, and they were like, "Yeah." And this guy writes, "I wish that this would happen to me." And I was like, "That's exactly what I was thinking." Exactly, because I was just like, "Man, if I was there, bad things would happen to that guy." I just don't understand why people just sit there and take that crap. You know what I mean? Like, the time for that is up. But these are all wimpy leftists. Of course they let this guy harass them because, he's probably a black guy or something, right? So they're just like, well, he's a black guy and, their culture is different than ours and he's probably low IQ, so we've got to let him do whatever he wants. It's like, no, you got to go knock that guy out. He knows he's being an a-hole. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not a moron. He doesn't get a pass because he's black. Black people aren't retarded. Black people are human beings. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's being a dick, and he's get slapped down for it. That's what I think. But these guys, they're leftists are genuinely racist. I think they really do think that black people are inferior, and that's why you got to that's why we need affirmative action. That's why we need to raise them all up. That's why we need to pat them on the head and tell them they do a good job. No. They can be productive if they want. They can be polite if they want. Black people aren't a different freaking species. We're all human beings. They can act normal in society if they want, or they can act like dickheads. This guy's a dickhead, and he needs to get knocked out. That's what I think.
This is the difference between equity and equality. Equality would show this guy with his dick in the dirt, and equity is everybody sort of shakes their head solemnly and looks away or does something. It's just like, no. That's why we see the collapse of New York and these leftist strongholds, because it's a society of wusses and shrinking violets and criminals. So there you go.
You've got it exactly. We got a super chat. I don't know what it is. We're going to find out. Oh, Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company writes, Lisa, no one cares. Go away. Okay, I don't know what that means.
Lisa's the one that's talking about the Trump and all that. But no. I see where you're coming from HuffPost, but no. They let them talk. They have every right to talk. They have every right to have their opinion. And it brings for good conversation. So I thank her for bringing that, because it made us have that little conversation.
All right, are we done?
Who the heck is Lisa?
Kurt, it's cool. Just chill. Yeah. Are we done? Kurt, just give it up. Just give it up. All right, are we done with that segment, or you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah. I'm good to go to the next one.
All right, this is the last one, I think.
There's two more.
Oh, there's two more.
But if you want to go to the last one, we can.
What's the other one? What's the second to last one?
The Trump plan to eliminate taxes on tips for restaurants.
Ah, yeah.
So
let's look at this.
Trump's
This
plan
is
to
great.
eliminate taxes on tips for restaurants and hospitality workers will influence over 12 million Americans.
Well, let's
The
just play it.
majority-
Let's just play it.
This is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service, you take care of people, and I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things too if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be under.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's something it's so funny because I think most people who work at restaurants don't pay taxes on their tips anyway. And so what Trump's done is he's taken an issue that is naturally going to be popular, and because people I do think are a little bit worried that they're going to get busted for not paying taxes on their tips, and he's just removed that anxiety, but really not changed how much money the government makes anyway.
This is the real student loan forgiveness, honestly, because all these people with UC degrees are the ones working in tip jobs, and they're always thinking like, "Oh, the government's going to come after me," and it's great because it's kind of anti communism, anti this idea of like,
it's a bit of freedom.
Minimum wage. Yeah, it's like, okay, you earn this. It's merit based. You earn this money. You did a good job. These people were just like, here, take this money for doing a good job. And the idea of like taxing it is just sort of like, okay, well, get your hand on my pocket, America, or the politicians.
He's not bribing them with, just giving them money.
Keep the money you earned.
Well, he's bribing them with just reducing their anxiety. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of anybody bribing somebody with less anxiety. You vote for me, you get less anxiety. That's what I'm going to give you, folks. Because people are already cheating on those taxes. Of course they are, because I think that there's sort of an unwritten rule in America that the vast majority of people believe, that is, tips shouldn't be taxed. So because it's like cash in hand, and almost nobody pays taxes on those tips anyway. So the only problem with this potentially is that I think that there are going to be a lot of transactions that are now conducted as tips. Like, what I mean? Like, there's going to be a lot of transactions. It's like, okay, it costs you $1 to get your carpet cleaned, but I do expect a $500 tip. Just throw that out there. So
I just want to interject again, and the chat is getting spicy here. So here's the other thing.
Please, by all means.
It's about the pro-life issue with Trump, that Trump is not pro-life. If it wasn't for Trump, Roe versus Wade would not have been reversed. Remember that, guys.
It's true. That's true that. Okay. Do you got anything to say about the tips, Jason?
Genius. Trump, once again, hits it. Like, I mean.
Well, like I said, there is potentially a problem with the people cheating now and saying that something's a tip when it really isn't. But
taxes are out of control.
You're going to cheat.
Taxes are out of control anyway. We tax people for working, for buying things, for selling things. It's like, okay, how many times are we going to tax the same handful of cash for you to even leave your house or get anything done? It's stifling. And once again, Trump is saying, I am the opposite of Joe Biden, because what did Joe Biden? I shouldn't say Joe Biden because he's a husk, but the administration is like, okay, we're going to hire all these IRS agents. We're going to come after you guys. We're going to make sure you're paying your taxes to fund this machine that we've got going here. And Trump's just like, man, you guys pay too much taxes. And that historically, when I was
younger,
Republicans.
When I was younger in LA, and LA is supposed to be this like very progressive place, You know, we're going to make the millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share, and you're not going to have to pay anything. You know, that kind of crap. We love poor people. I had so many fines on my car for stupid crap that I didn't even realize I was violating a rule or a law or whatever. And like, if you go into Hollywood, if you go to West Hollywood, there's joke memes online about the parking signs in West Hollywood, because there'll be like a sign, like a pole, like a metal pole, and there will literally be like, I'm not even joking, it's like 10 different signs, and you have to read through every single one. Wow, I got really bright in here. You have to read through every single one and be absolutely sure that you're in one of the time frame. You're not in one of the time frames in which you're going to get towed, or you're going to have to pay a massive fine or something like that. Like, California is nuts with the fines. But guess what? If you're rich, you've got valet parking. If you're rich, you're going to be put in some private garage somewhere. You will never park on the side of the road if you're rich in LA. So the people that get effed over are, guess who? Poor people. When I was broke in LA, I had to pay hundreds of dollars at one point. It was like well over $1,000 in fines for crap that I didn't even realize I was doing wrong. And I go into there and I try to explain to them, and they're just like, nope. And at one point they towed my car, and it would have cost me more money to get the car out of the tow than the car was worth. Like, this was when I was like in my 20s, like, you know, and they prey on people who don't know the rules and stuff. And I called it a poor tax. It was a poor tax. So the government just steals from you, man. Like, oftentimes government just steals from you. And especially in somewhere like Los Angeles, where they pretend they care about poor people. They don't care about you. All they care about is they get their money. They have their power. I'm gonna fix my camera here.
I was gonna say, Chris is coming to us live from heaven and Jason from hell. So we're getting two very different perspectives on the issues today, folks.
All right, I ratcheted up the. Yeah, I don't know. I got the sun directly on here.
There we go.
I'm against taxes. I hate taxes. Less taxes, less government is always best. When he says he wants to cut taxes and eliminate taxes on it, I'm all for it. Let me tell you, what did Biden do? He gave money to pay for people's college tuition, right? I mean, I rather have a president saying that he's going to cut taxes instead of just throwing money at people. You know, that's going to help me more than anything else. You know, so anytime somebody says less taxes or cut taxes, I'm 100% behind it.
Especially if you're like canceling the college fees of people rich kids who've gone to who have stupid degrees. Hot Power Concrete and Semperfi Crawfish Company says, but broke in LA is middle class anywhere else. It's kind of funny, but it's totally wrong. If you're broke in LA, you're broke just like everywhere else. It's
called being an unofficial extra in the Mad Max movie is what it is, because you're basically living in a dystopian nightmare.
I think the reason that somebody might think that is because, wow, it got dark now. Okay. I think the reason people might think that is because LA is so expensive. But what you do in like a normal town in America, if you don't have a ton of money, is you live in a very small apartment. In LA, you live in a very small apartment with 7 other people. So that's what you got to do if you're super broke in LA. Yeah. I even at one point I had a room with a roommate in the room with me. Normally you'd have your own room within a house or something, but yeah, I lived very poor when I was young living in LA. All right, shall we move on to the very last story, Jace?
Yes.
The last story is me just complaining about stuff.
Go for it. It's your.
They've already been through 2.5 hours of that, so I guess what's another 5 minutes?
Exactly. All right. So this is a video that I made. There was this video of Joe Biden wandering around on this stage, and I remember that Trump used to do a little bit of a thing about this, where he used to do this little bit during his speeches where he would sort of mimic Joe Biden. So I played one of the audio over the top of this, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, over the top of Joe Biden walking around. I thought it was quite brilliant. I'll go ahead and play it for you guys.
Yeah. A man that literally can't speak. He can't get off a stage. The other day, he tried to get off a stage. Then he turned her. Did you see the other day? Thank you. Thank you. You know what happens after about 20 minutes, the stuff that he's taking wears off. So it gets a little groggy. Gets a little bit groggy. They say, get him off the stage. That shit's wearing off, man. Get him off.
Anyway, I thought this was the most brilliant mashup I could think of, is like actually showing Joe Biden really doing what Donald Trump accuses him of. I thought that was brilliant. So I put that together. It's getting like no views. I posted
it's like
on
watching
Twitter,
a nature documentary on like National Geographic
exactly
or something.
Exactly. I thought this was going to go.
Joe Biden sometimes has trouble finding his way off of the stage.
Exactly. I thought this would go super viral. I thought everybody'd love it. Maybe you guys in the comment section could tell me why this didn't do well. It's not doing well on Twitter. It's not doing well on YouTube. Nobody seems to think it's funny. I thought it was genius. Like I said, my mom watched this and said, "Oh, that poor man." You know? And I was like, "Mom, he's a crook. He's a crook." So maybe that's why. I don't know. What do you guys think? MMA Fix jumps in. He says, "Kurt, you've earned this money. Who's Lisa? Had me falling out of my chair laughing." I know. Kurt was like right up to the camera.
Well, don't give me the $5. Just give me the answer to the question. This is just
Jason did give you the answer to the question, you idiot. That's why it was funny. You had to explain the whole thing, and then afterwards you're like, anyway,
he did a Biden. He did a Biden.
He pulled a Biden. Yeah. Jokes
Jason,
aside, it's all.
Help me off stage here. Who's Lisa? Lisa who?
MMA Fix finishes off. He says, "Jokes aside, it's all a good example of why this show and chat rules." I agree with you. Thank you, MMA Fix. We always enjoy your comments, especially when they're nasty and barbed against me.
Well, I don't want to dissuade anybody from being in the chat or anything. Like I respect all your opinions.
Exactly.
Feel free to express your opinions and all that. There's no need. Like, I'm not against it or anything. You know, it's good. It's good. We're not leftists over here. Well, we like to hear other.
I was going to say, why are you like cradling our audience? It's like, just talk to us. This is a safe space. It's like, you sound like a leftist there. This is toxic masculinity, not safe spaces for comments.
Well, Jason's. Well, it's like he's not saying.
Actually, I take it back, Chris. I take it back, Chris. Let's make a rule: no drinking on the show.
Yes, exactly. I keep trying to convince him. He's not listening to me. But Jason has a point. It's not because we want it to be a safe space. It's because YouTube suppresses the distribution of my show. So the only people we have in the chat ever and who watch the show are awesome patriots. And I love the fact that they're all awesome patriots, but it also annoys me a little bit because I would prefer to have leftists watching our freaking show and like changing some people's minds.
Yes.
But the most we can hope for is what Jason said earlier, is that we talk to, however many of you guys watch the show, and then you guys talk to your friends and they talk to their friends, and hopefully we spread our ideas that way, because we can't spread them directly to the left because YouTube doesn't allow us to do that, because the only people that get to talk to anybody from the other side is MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all these idiot companies that come out and they're just like, Trump's a racist, we don't like him, he's very mean. If you say Trump's a patriot, then you get blocked.
I just love when Mr. Pagan comes out.
I know. And then it went dark.
Exactly.
Sorry about the sunshine, guys. I got this cloud going in and out. So I have a sky roof. I have a skylight now. So that's what's going on there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I changed rooms. I can show you. I can actually move the camera a little bit. Hold on, let's have a look here. So that's my skylight. I'll have to. There you go. You can see the sky. Isn't that nice?
That's awesome, man.
Do we actually get to all the stories?
So at night you'll be able to see the stars, huh?
Yeah, I can see the stars at night. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is cool.
It's quite cool, actually.
Every time he looks in a mirror.
Yeah, that too. All right, I don't know if that's the right brightness or not, but I'm feeling that.
This is good TV. Just Chris sort of off in the distance and a purple.
Curtain. Setting up the lighting, trying to set the lighting up.
Your microphone's not even orange. It doesn't deserve this kind of screen time.
I'm back. All right. I think, are we done with the show? I would like to just.
God, I hope so.
I'd just like to say something. I mean, do we have anything else that we want to chat about? I got 4 or 5 new videos coming out real soon. They're almost done. I decided to do a bunch of videos at once, and one of them is taking a lot longer than I thought. But basically, I got like 4 or 5 videos coming out, kind of all in a row. So those are all going to be good. They're all going to be quite fun. Chadwick Moore actually posted Tucker Carlson's final Fox News opening monologue in text a little while ago, and I thought it would be fun to do that on the show because Tucker Carlson never got to do it. He wrote the thing. He was ready to go, and then he got fired the morning he was supposed to go on the show, and so that final monologue never got produced. So I thought I'd do it instead. I'm no Tucker, but it should be good anyway. I got something about Mark Milley being just the most evil, traitorous person in Washington, D.C., and how he kind of, how he's really, I think, one of the bigger problems that Trump had when he was in office, and he needs to go. And I got a couple other videos, quite good. One, like I said, is called "Why Women Should Not Be Allowed to Vote." Or no, sorry, that's not the conclusion I necessarily draw. No spoilers.
Should we try to get Pearl on here? Just Pearly things?
No.
Good guest. Why not?
Kurt, stop with the booze. The suggestions are getting bad. The speech is getting slurred.
Suggestion? Okay, you know what? It's not that your conservative friends are malicious. It's just that they're jealous of your natural charisma. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's true though. He is funnier than me, which is I've always found irritating.
That's where the hatred comes from. It's
Pearly things is nuts. She's just an attention seeker. I don't like people who are just attention seekers.
Okay, well, I guess this is my last show then. Because God knows I don't have anything relevant to say. I'm just a clown to you boys.
Yeah. If you're gonna drink, at least be funny. Which, okay, I guess we can end on that. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an amazing show. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Seb Gorka, for jumping in again. And thank you, everybody who submitted super chats, and just people in the comment section in general. We love you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
As Jason said. And we will see you on Thursday. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. Good night.